old, groaning like a geezer.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to GRAYBEARD'S Studio. Do you like that enunciation? GRAYBEARD'S Studio. This is episode number 11, and it's a special episode because we're bringing in our first guest star, which we're going to do once a month unless Kelsey quits showing up, and then we may have to do it once a week. But as of right now, we're planning on just doing it once a month. Today is, of course, the 22nd of February. This is, as I said, episode number 11. Today, we're going to be doing the John Carpenter film universe because you chose it. So let me bring in my co-host, the one I know is going to show up every week. It's David Williams. There he is, or at least there's his board. Thumbs up. Look at that. Wraith of God on his desk. That shows the man has good taste. Actually, let me show you a quick picture that David sent me. Since we never get to see him on camera, there he is. There he is. Look at that. He's just in awe of reading Wraith of God, and he's representing with a beanie. As he pointed out to me, look how the interior pages are glowing up into his face as he reads this. So that's
that's good stuff.
That's the experience you get when you read Wraith of God right there.
Yeah.
But you know what? Today's a special day. It's special not in the fact that we still haven't seen or heard from Kelsey, and we're not even sure if he's still alive at this point, but we're hoping that someday he'll return to us. But we do have a special guest artist that's coming in. He's coming in strong. I think he's really got those third place vibes going if this were a competition, but it's not, of course. But he's a guy who's doing a lot of covers for a lot of people on a lot of CG projects and indie projects. He's all over the place. Terrific artist. And I'm going to add him to the stream, even though he's not in the picture. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Dan Lawless. There he is. Adjust your chair, Dan. There he comes. That was terrifying, actually. You just saved that.
I'm terrified by it.
Save that for Halloween, man.
Scare
Welcome,
myself.
Dan. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, are you up for the challenge?
We'll see, man.
I am. David Williams, I would tell you about David before we get going here. David cheats and he talks trash, so you've got to be prepared. It's double trouble with that guy.
I back up all my talk.
It's easy to back it up when you're cheating all the time. But anyway, let's move on. That's so Dan, thank you for being here, being our first official guest on GRAYBEARD'S.
Oh,
and we'll
although I don't have one.
I know. We'll see. David and I will carry the beard portion of the show. Okay. You just kind of fall in line with the art stuff. Look, there's David. See, David's got plenty of gray in his beard to go around, and so do I. Yeah. Although my beard isn't as mighty as David's. So. All right. We also have a special guest, sort of. I mean, he may start being a regular on the show because what we've been finding out is that when I'm drawing, it's really hard for me to keep an eye on you guys in the chat. And so I'm bringing in a monitor, a guy that we all know and love. He's one of the great anchors of the comic book industry, and also a mean-spirited practical joker. So you can never turn your back on him. But ladies and gentlemen, put it together for Gary Martin.
Hey, Gary. Gary's.
Gary's back in town, man.
That's right.
G Money.
There you are, man.
G Money.
He's in front of a drawing table with pictures that he no doubt.
Projects that I'm currently working on.
What are you currently working on, Gary? What can you tell us?
Two things I'm working on. That I think I showed a while back about a restoration project at the Michael Golden Nom page. The client wanted me to re-ink the original because John Beatty, who was the inker, used a weird ink, and a lot of the ink turned brown.
Go full screen. Go full screen.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So
hang on. There we go.
Yeah, the stuff that's black is stuff that I've inked. So like this panel here, I've inked over the brown. So it's covering up like, 95% of it. So
this is actually this is like a restoration project.
Yes,
in the purest form.
Exactly.
It kind of looks cool with the brown and black in that particular frame right there, because it gives it dimension.
It does look cool. Yeah, it does look cool. The client is concerned that the inks will continue to fade, and he wanted to stop that.
You wanted to get it before they disappeared completely, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, Gary won't be drawing today, but he will be supervising. He's kind of like the class principal today, and we shall see if he rules with an iron fist or not. Let me say a hi to a few people in the chat here before we get rolling. We'll go over.
I'm going to switch my camera.
Exactly. Yeah, go ahead, Dan. Anytime you feel comfortable, you may switch your camera. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick, of course, is always here. He says, "Hail, Aaron and Brohawk," but he neglected our guests. That's pretty rude, Leg Kick. H is for Heretic. Hail, Aaron. Hail, Brohawk. Hail, Dan Lawless. Hail, Kelsey, if you show up. Of course, Gary Martin was unannounced, so I don't expect a lot of hails. Maybe when we get down farther in the chat, people will say hi to you, Gary, so don't feel bad yet. Let's see. Kevin Thomas is glad to see Dan back in action. Bet Aaron has dibs on Jack Burton. Well, unfortunately, that is not the case, but we'll find out in just a minute who's doing what. Vanta Blackbeard is here to join the Graybeards. How about that? He says, "Call me Snake." McCready from Creative Fay Illustration. Richie Dupe is here. Richie Dupe saying, "A poll is needed." No, this is not a competition, Richie, but if you want to say that mine's the best, that's totally fine. Dan, the Pizza Man Genovese, is here. Let's see. Humphrey Bear is here. Ryo Stew. Hail, Ryo. Thanks for joining us. Sequential Treasures is here. But Blackjack. Repollerman Jack. Repair. Is that an I? Looks like an L to me.
Yeah, it's an L.
All right. Well, however you say that. Welcome. And of course, he's calling me up by my work name, Lopez, now. Jackie Daytona is here. Let's see. Who else we got? Voyager 47, Hail Lopez. Of course, that's directed at me. Let's see. Richie Dupe says, "The ghostly vapors of Kelsey Shannon's evergreen."
Oh, my goodness.
Holy crap. What is this? We got a gray beard waiting on you, Aaron. Are you kidding me? Like, I started the show like 30 seconds after I was supposed to. Just get out of here with that crap. Come on now.
I want to know who that cannon dude is. I mean, talk about superpower. How many times have you pelted him?
Well, I want to know how many times he actually did it, like when he was touring the country doing that. That
was an act.
I believe so.
How did he learn that he knew he could do that?
Yeah, exactly. The first one. I think I could do that and live.
Well, I think maybe you start with a pillow and work your way up.
I think his wife hit him first with it and said, "Hey, I could take it."
Razmain is here. I thought it was Ralphie from A Christmas Story emerging. Oh, so he's talking about Dan Lawless. He thought he was Ralphie. There you go, Dan.
Yeah.
That's all right. Sounds about right. I'll take Ralphie.
Bill Wiest is hoping for the trio of Kurt Russells, Elvis Snake and Jack Burton. Well, you're not going to get Elvis, but you may get a trio of Kurt Russell. One Slick Dude is here. Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Nebo Tease. I once got suspended on the this sounds like a joke, right? I once got suspended on the last day of school for shooting the truancy officer with a water gun. Thanks for sharing. You're going to, we'll remember that. I hope you don't bring your water gun to conventions and squirt on people's art. That would be horrible. Mark Penegrin, Kelsey is dead. Long live Kelsey. Oh my gosh. Sheeple Hunter says, is this stream sponsored by Depends? No, it isn't.
Not
That'd
yet.
be some money
Not
coming
yet.
in if it was.
We're working on it. We got
I
a
know, I
deal.
would take their advertising money if they do it.
Got a deal in the works, but it's not finalized.
I heard a statistic the other day. I don't know if this is true.
Yep.
That apparently diaper sales, the senior diapers are exceeding infant diapers now.
You know, it
Showing
wouldn't surprise
the
me.
reversal of or the lack of babies being born.
Yeah,
That wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know if it's true, but you know, it sounds like
it is.
cool.
It sounds like it's true, even if it isn't. It sounds like it should be, right? Okay, here's what we're doing today. We got a full house. We've got me. I'll be drawing characters from The Thing. David Williams will be drawing characters from Big Trouble in Little China. Dan Lawless will be going Snake Plissken on us. So we're doing the Kurt Russell trio, or oh, look at that. And we'll also be promoting Wraith of God, in case you hadn't noticed. I do want to point out real quick that there are descriptions. Let me try that again. There are links in the description of this video for Wraith of God Blood Hunters, which is the current project I'm working on. That is the follow-up to Wraith of God that these fine gentlemen are displaying here. And also Bass Reeves. David is done with Bass Reeves. So that is like at Allegiance Arts. I'm sure it's getting ready to go to the printer any time now. So that you won't have to wait long on that book. So get over there. And if you haven't backed both those projects, we'd greatly appreciate it. Dan Lawless doesn't have a project at the moment, but he's everywhere. Dan, what are some of the stuff you're doing right now?
Let's see. Nothing.
Okay. Well, you got a print on Reenie's campaign.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like what's sort of in the works.
What's flowing out there? You got a trading card on my campaign. As soon as we hit 140, that becomes a freebie for everybody.
Let me give you the list because I got it there on my website. Private American.
There you
go.
go.
Cover for Private American. That of course been shadow banned along with everybody else's one. Cordrath. I colored a bunch of those. I colored the cover, 2 covers actually. The one, the girl, the kind of evil looking girl, and then just the main cover. Got, as you mentioned, print for Reenie, for her her fiendish, and then that print for Vaughn for Black Terror.
Wow, look at that. So he's everywhere. You are everywhere.
Yeah. But you can go to my website, danlawless.com. It's LAWLIS. And everything's there for all the links to everything. So you don't have to worry about the shadow banning stuff. You can take the direct link from there to that. Has Garbage Man image up there. So that'll take you to that next, your campaign, Aaron.
I recommend Dan's website. There's a cool video of him ballroom dancing. That's awesome.
We don't know when he's going to take it down, so get over there quick.
Later on, we'll be asking you to bust a move. So
yeah. Well, I that one's down. I got a new one where I do a break dancing and spin on the head thing.
Yeah.
Now that I got to see.
Just
no, when you call it a spin on the head thing,
you may be disappointed if you're
When you call it a thing, you're
and when you call it spin on the head thing, it's not a thing that you do. And by the way,
go ahead.
By the way, Dan's commission list is wide open, so people who want to get commissioned in, contact him through his website.
Yeah,
Sequential Treasure says Dan did the cover for the new Overstreet guide too.
Oh yeah,
so let's not forget that.
I forgot. Shoot, the Death Dealer. So I thought that worked out pretty well.
Oh, that was a nice piece. Marcus Killigrew, can't wait to get Bass. Amanda B is here. Christina Lynn is here with us. J-Bud Art says, does David have any projects planned now that Bass is done? Come on, he can tell us. We can keep a secret. He's not ready to reveal it yet, but you know what? It's going to be revealed on this show. So keep coming back for more. You guys, make sure you like and subscribe while you're here. It helps the channel grow and makes me feel good about myself. So those, you kill two birds with one stone right there. David, tell us what you've got on your... Anything can happen, and it usually does.
Actually,
hang on a second.
This is my actual G.I. Joe from when I was a kid. I still have it. Lifelike hair. This is before Kung Fu Grip, but I have ones with Kung Fu Grip.
Oh, look at this. You are ready for action.
Wow.
That's
this is more awesome. The adventure Joe, you know?
Oh, no. Gary's got Spaceman.
Look at Gary Martin.
My brothers had the Spaceman too. Like that was, but I came in a little late for that. Like I said, more of the Adventure Joe and the big, you know, whatever the ATV vehicles and all that kind of stuff. A lot of orange and yellows.
Yeah.
Did you have the ongoing argument with your older siblings that G.I. Joes were action figures and not dolls?
Nah, it didn't quite come up, I don't think, but
it didn't come up.
All right, we'll get to that in a second.
I do remember. I remember I think I was 10 years old or something like that, and I'm kind of playing along with these Joes, and I'm like suddenly feeling self-conscious. You're like, what the hell am I doing? You know? And I'm like, oh, this sucks. I really want to keep playing with these Joes, but I'm too old, you know. Then I went to the box and said, ages 8 to 12. I'm like, oh, I got 2 more years, you know.
Yeah. See. David, tell us what you've got on your table right there.
With the limited free time that I have, I'm getting back to finishing old commissions that are long overdue. And this is a Fantastic Four one that I'm working on, a very patient client. And with his patience, graduated up to something much grander, which all the other ones have as well. This was only just going to be like an 11 by 17, you know, piece with the Fantastic Four on it, but it graduated to being a double page because the art is so great it couldn't contain itself. You know? Yeah. So I went larger, and it was also going to be a marker piece, but markers are so. I mean, I'm good with them, but you have to buy so many just to maintain a consistency, and they dry out so quick. And since being on Graybeards and learning from artists and seeing what they're doing and seeing they could work with watercolors have really opened my eyes and refreshed me as an artist, because after Bass Reeves and getting that behind me, which was very cathartic, and then the disaster thing that's happening with Truth, Justice, and America, and getting that behind me, and letting Judas go and do what he has to do. This has been such a refreshing thing to actually revitalize me as an artist, and getting to learn something more and become something better than even what I was before, which I was fully in and love with. But this has taken me to a whole other level, I feel, in learning how to paint and become just a better artist. And I thank the Graybeards for, opening my eyes to something different and new.
Well, old guys bring wisdom, and along with adult diapers. So there's plenty that. This show has inspired me as well. And speaking of which, I got to share this with you guys real quick. I did this as a. Let me go full screen here. I did this as a just out of a cool down sketch the other night, and
you called it cool down.
A little carried away.
Was that a little?
A little.
What was that, Gary?
Is that a little Frazetta breeze blowing?
Yeah, Here's, get a load of this. So I posted this on Facebook, and of course Jerome Moore chimes in and goes, "Hey, that's a great looking piece. How come her hair's blowing one way and her skirt's blowing the other?"
She farted.
And I said, dude, it's the swirling winds on the water that did that. So,
or she's kind of gassy.
Well, it was also an unplanned sketch. So I just started drawing, and you don't really, when you do stuff like this, you're not really necessarily thinking about, is the layout perfect, is whatever, you just kind of just go with it. And that's kind of what this is. Yes,
you want me to explain it?
I said it was the swirling winds on the water. I think that makes
no, that's not good. That's not good. Let me explain.
Oh,
okay.
It's only good when David comes up with it. Go ahead.
Exactly. So she's lunging forward. So the part of her body, that's why her skirt is following her, but her head's first, so her hair thrusts forward.
I like it.
Is he just spinning? See? Maybe she's just spinning. That's all.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. But
yeah.
Anyway, so this is the kind of stuff I do
smart.
in the evening. Because I am inspired by working on this show with other great artists, and it's kind of really lit a fire under me to not only work during the day but work at night. And I'm also sort of a workaholic. So, but anyway, all right. Here's the rules.
Wait.
Rules
I got one more thing to show.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. David's also doing a Batman commission. Let's take a look at that real quick. There we go.
Okay, this one's going to have all the Bat family. It's going to have one more page full of Bat family, and it's going to be. This is going to be 11 by 17. 11 by 17, and it's going to break down to another 11 by 17. It's a takeoff of a G.I. Joe cover that I did for IDW. And I'm going to do the villains counterpiece with all of Batman's rogues gallery, and those are going to be painted as well. So it's going to be a real nice giant piece.
That's really cool.
Some great investor.
The Art of Roy cover says, I don't get when doing a double page spread why artists butt two boards together when you can just use one large sheet. Well, there's a couple of reasons, Roy. The first reason is most of us have 11 by 17 scanners, and so makes it easier to scan it in pieces. Also, if you're bringing that to a show, it's almost impossible to get this piece of artwork that big to a show. And then thirdly, if you got to ship this to somebody, shipping an enormous piece of art like that is incredibly hard, and you're just asking for more chances for it to get bent or wrecked. So there's a variety of reasons why we do that. But
shipping a big piece is a nightmare.
Yeah.
But mostly because we just don't have big paper around.
Well, that's true, but you can buy
I don't
big
feel like I
sheets
want
of
to start
paper.
with big.
Well, that's true, but I mean, also scanning it is it's really, really difficult.
Yeah.
If you've got a big piece like that you can't separate. So, and plus we've all been trained to do it that way, through our careers in comics. So it's not, and I think people sort of expect it as well. But I have done huge commissions for people before, but then the nightmare of getting it to them or getting it to a show where they can pick it up it can be really problematic. So
excuse me, Aaron, the Art of Roy asked a question earlier about the golden piece. He asked if the chemical of the original will affect the new inks. And I pleaded with the client, and I tried to talk him out of me restoring this, but he didn't fear anything, that I could do to it, or that, this kind of question about the old ink reacting to new ink. So once I do it and I ship it off to him, it's not my responsibility. So I don't know I thought of that too. There could be some kind of problem, but India ink is pretty resilient. It lasts a long time. The paper will fade, marker ink will fade, but India ink hangs in there, and that's what I'm using. I'm inking the whole thing with the brush. I'm not using any kind of, sketchy pens that you don't know about the ink.
Sure. Well, wasn't it Rockwell who said that, that he was afraid that maybe some of his paintings would blow up because of all the different weird stuff he was using to combining to get the stuff done quicker and to dry quicker. And he was always combining things that he maybe shouldn't be combining and didn't really know. So you're in good company. Okay. All right. So I'm going to switch cameras here. We're going to get going here. It's technically it's a little bit before 1:30, but we'll call it 1:30. That means we have until 3:30 to get these drawings done. So let the pressure begin on everybody except David, because he'll cheat anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But Gary will keep an eye on the chat for us while I am looking at my paper, hoping something good comes out of it. So, gentlemen, begin. But first, let me ask this question. No, you can begin, but let me ask this question. Do you guys have a favorite John Carpenter film?
Mine is Big Trouble in Little China. That's why I'm doing it.
Escape from New York is one that I tend to watch over and over again.
I like it, but I haven't seen it in years. Yeah,
Just
I have big favorites.
Adrian Barbeau makes me want to watch it.
That'll do it.
The Thing is my favorite, probably, if I had to choose, but Big Trouble in Little China is sort of like really pressing, because the more I watch that film, the more I love it. I mean, it's one of those films, the first time you watch it, it's kind of like Napoleon Dynamite. You look at it and go,
exactly, yeah.
That's a good analogy.
Yes, it is. I agree.
But the more you watch it, the greater it becomes.
Yeah, and then you watch it again, it's like, okay, this could be genius.
I forgot about The Thing. I love The Thing.
Yeah, The Thing is great. The Thing is great.
Well, the practical effects in there by Rob Bottin are freaking awesome.
Yeah. I mean, horror movies need to get back to that. That thing still freaks me out. You're just like,
Yeah, I know.
And you know when it's coming. You're like, you've seen it a billion times, and you're still, oh, here it comes, and you're still like, ah.
It's nasty, man. And of course, Mike Plug did all the, storyboards and stuff for that film. So I'm sure you guys have seen those floating around.
No, I didn't. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Just
now
Google like Plug and The Thing, and you get just tons of stuff.
I'm gonna definitely be Googling. I gotta distract you guys just for a moment.
Oh no, here it comes.
Gary and I were talking about colors and just in general, and we were talking about Drew Struzan. Brian Stelfreeze came up, and I was telling him about a story about Brian Stelfreeze getting to go to Drew Struzan's house. But I do Drew Struzan's house first because Jason Palmer. And apparently when Brian went, Drew was really impressed with Brian. And I wanted to show Gary and just everybody on this panel this book that Brian did. He was selling them at his shows. He is such a wonderful painter, colorist. That the colors that he puts together, and if you see the originals to stuff like this, it just glows. Printing never does justice. And he's just so not afraid of color.
Oh, look at that Rita Hayworth. God, that's beautiful.
Right? It's amazing.
Yeah, he does terrific work. But he's a guy that spent a good portion of his career painting, Yeah. He does line work, obviously, but he's been doing painting for years, and he's really, really got a handle on it, obviously.
I remember back when I was working on those trading cards for Marvel.
Sophia,
I saw his stuff.
Go back, David.
Yeah, go Sophia Loren. Oh, it's frozen. Oh yeah.
Dang.
Wow.
Look how he brings that sort of that violet into her cheeks and her nose in the background and everything. God, it's blue on her eyes.
It's interesting to see her with green eyes. Does she have green eyes? I mean,
she does now.
How old is that book?
When did this come out? 2011. But he has other ones up until now that are they're just as good. This is just one I just plucked out for this show.
Gee, I've never seen these.
I haven't seen this.
Is this available for purchase if you want to?
Probably on eBay or Amazon or something like that.
Psalms.
I said, is it available for purchase? Right after that hot girl there. Like, is it available for purchase? I want that.
Yeah. Aaron, you've got a paid announcement from Travis.
Oh my goodness. Patrick for $2. Thank you, Travis Patrick, for $2. Appreciate that. Dan Lawless, attorney at law.
LAWLIS.
He's pushing
Not
a new
quite
television
lawless.
show, I think.
Kind of lawless. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Like a snake version of a lawless person. I don't know.
I also have
One
to
S.
Sorry, I have to mention Christina Lynn's comment that she watched Napoleon Dynamite in your junior high class. I mean, is that the coolest teacher ever?
Fun.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you what's horrifying about that is that she was in junior high when that movie came out. I had kids when that movie came out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just gotta make everybody feel old. That's all right. That's all right. Appreciate it.
Okay, Marcus, in the chat, you have to tell me that story later about your mom meeting Sophia Loren. I want to hear about it later.
Not right this second, but later. So
Okay,
Gary, are you?
I was going to say that Lowell in conversation, I was thinking about this last night, a story from my youth.
Here we go.
Oh no. Hold on.
So,
For you folks not used to this, these stories, they are low key.
so I'm in
Believe me, they go places.
the junior high thing reminded me. I was in probably about 7th grade, around 13, and my family all piled up into the car. I have 2 brothers, mom and dad, and we went. I grew up in San Jose. We were visiting my grandparents who lived in Oakland at the time, and for some reason they decided while we were there to visit a cousin, like a second or third cousin of my dad. This is my dad's family, and I'd never heard of this woman. So we pile in the car again with the grandparents, and we trek over to this. That I'm a kid. I don't know who this woman is. I don't know what's going on. We trek over to a trailer park, and I'd never been to a trailer park before, so that was kind of an experience. We're all standing in front of this door, looking up at the door of the trailer, knock on the door. This woman opens the door, and she's in this, I don't even know how to describe it. I think I heard my dad say that the term moo-moo. It was kind of a day dress, very kind of loose fitting.
Yeah.
She was a large woman, and apparently she didn't know we were coming. So she was surprised, and everyone's saying, "Oh, hi, how are you? It's been such a long time," that kind of thing. Meanwhile, I'm staring at her neck because she had a goiter the size of a soccer rolling on the, probably about the 2 o'clock position on her neck.
Oh, God.
And I'm waiting for somebody to say, I don't remember this woman's name. I'll just say Thelma.
It's appropriate.
Thelma, how's your goiter? Obviously, it had been there for a while, so she must be famous for it. This is what I'm thinking. She must be famous for it.
Oh, God.
Everybody in the trailer park had to know this, the goiter woman. My grandmother had to know. No one thought to bring it up. So as this junior high kid standing there with my mouth gaping, and because no one's saying anything, I don't. We go in the house, we're sitting around, we're visiting. We stayed there for about an hour, not a word about the goiter. Not a word. So I'm waiting for the trip home. I can't wait to get back in the car so we can talk about the goiter. So finally, we get in the car, we say goodbye, we get in the car, we're heading home. I don't want to bring it up. I'm waiting for somebody else to bring it up. No one says a word. So for the rest of my life, I'm wondering if anybody else noticed the goiter.
So you never got this answered?
I never got any information about this woman and that softball on the side of her neck.
That itch never got.
No. And then years later, I saw the Seinfeld episode where they had to deal with the same issue. It's like, okay, so it wasn't just me. It is weird.
Well, I don't have any goiter stories to top that, but
well, I'm still wondering if I'm the only one that was concerned or thinking about it or thought it was strange because no one else said anything. Was I the only one that just thought it was odd? But then I realized that I'm the Ford Pinto of the Martin family.
Yeah, well,
Snap me in my keister and I explode. But yeah, I kind of noticed that I might be a little different than the rest of the Martins.
I don't know. I mean, that, when you've got, I would have been like fixated on it, but I would have said the first thing I got in the car was like, what was up with her neck? That's what I would have said. Demanding some sort of.
I wanted to, but I was the youngest one there. I'm waiting for somebody older and wiser to take the lead. Okay, enough of that.
Well, no, I mean this is this reminds me of the time that I got my first comic book, and it was FF 112, and at the end, Ben Grimm's girlfriend, who's, Alicia, right, the blind girl, distracts him, and he gets punched, by the Hulk, and he's laid out, and we all think he's dead, right, at the end of that issue. And I didn't get another comic book for probably like 4 years. And I thought the thing was dead for 4 years because there was no one I could ask. There was no one I could go to get this clarification. But eventually I found out the truth. But you, Gary, you went your entire life and never got this answer.
I even brought the story up to my brother, my brothers years later, and they don't even remember it.
Oh, they don't even remember this woman.
Either they're lying or
they're like, goiter? What are you talking about?
Yeah, how do you not remember
that? Well, they blotted it out of their minds.
That could be.
It's not like you don't have a reputation, Gary, for fabrication. So, I find it highly believable that everybody in your family would think that you were lying and they couldn't remember. That you were setting them up for something, like a joke or something.
Exactly. They're coming, they say, oh, we don't trust you.
Or he's going to lop the head off my action figure.
But how do you not remember something that burned into your brain cells?
Well,
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what a goiter was back then as a kid. I found out, years later. I just, it was just this massive thing on the side of her neck. It's like,
well, stuff like that though. stuff like that probably is more likely to burn a hole in a young kid's mind and stay there than somebody older who maybe they had seen her before, right? And they knew that she had.
Knew about, well, why didn't they warn us? Whatever you do, don't stare at her goiter. No,
well, that'll do it then.
You got a good point there. You got a good point there.
Yeah, I use this reference with my conversation with David, I think yesterday. It reminded me like the Ray Milland movie, The Thing with Two Heads.
Oh yeah.
Rosie Greer's head was growing out of her shoulder.
How do you not notice that?
Yeah.
What was this? The two-headed one?
What?
You don't remember that?
You never seen that?
It's hilarious.
From what? What was it? What was the show?
It's a movie. Was it called The Thing with Two Heads?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was The Thing with Two Heads.
And it was like Ray Milland, the man with the X-ray eyes. That's a classic. And Rosie Greer. And Rosie Greer was a escaped convict, I think. I vaguely remembering the plot. You guys
was that his first picture though?
I don't know.
Wasn't that his first picture? I think it was.
Might have been his last too.
Yeah.
So after he actually, the head grows, they just mount Ray Milland like on a backpack or something behind Rosie Greer, and Rosie Greer's running around with Ray Milland on his head on his shoulder and in close-ups. But when they show it far away, they mount some kind of mannequin head, and you could see it like flopping around as
Was Rosie Greer a football player? It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now, yeah.
The Los Angeles Rams. He's one of the Frightful Four.
Fearsome Foursome.
Oh, Fearsome Foursome. That's right.
Yeah.
With Deacon Jones.
Those guys were superheroes of their time.
Merlin Olsen.
Deacon
for
Jones.
FTT Flowers.
Yeah, Merlin Olsen had a Hollywood career.
That's right. He was Little House on the Prairie, and then he had his own show, didn't he? Like
John
Father
Wayne.
Murphy or something?
He was in a John Wayne movie.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, it was Alex Karras was the other guy who was in Blazing Saddles. Was Mongo in Blazing Saddles? That was the
Alex
right?
Karras was not Fearsome Foursome.
He wasn't?
No, he played for the Lions, I think.
Well, who was the other fourth? Who was the fourth guy?
I can't remember.
Do we have any jock nerds in the chat that can help us out?
I can't remember.
Pedro Ang is saying O.J. Simpson was in movies too. So what's your point there, Pedro?
That's funny.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, there we go. Dad's Den of Pop Culture. The Thing with Two Heads. Unbelievable. Horror B movie draw stream would be pretty sweet.
Yeah. David, the Art of Roy is asking a question about T-Jaw.
What about it?
It says, did David say he was released? Oh, hold on a second. My screen just changed. He was released himself from T-Jaw Comic? Question. Completely so Gabe can get the book done on his own? Question mark. How do you want to answer that?
I'll answer it by saying, and I'll reiterate it. Jesus was betrayed by Judas for 30 pieces of silver. So
There you go.
I'll leave it there.
And a quiet calm comes over the chat.
Yeah, people are commenting on Rosie Greer. He seems to have left an impression on a lot of people.
I'm trying to think of any other movie he was in.
I know he was in quite a few things. Zaid Comics has kicked in some dough, Aaron.
Oh, that's Phil Diaz. Phil, of course, will be joining me as a guest on the Sunday show this week to talk about his new project. Thank you for the 5, Phil. Hey, yo, to the Graybeards. Thanks for all the inspiration and motivation to make cool stuff. Hope you all check out the Lost Pages 3 that just launched. That is a paid advertisement by Phil Diaz. And like I said, he will be on my show and we'll talk in depth about his project and what it all means. So tune in Sunday at 4 o'clock, not 5 o'clock Pacific time, as I've changed. We're going an hour early to hopefully keep from getting run over by Ethan Van Sciver, who tends to stream on Sunday evenings now.
Nomsky asks, who betrayed Jesus? David? Okay, Rosie Greer was on an episode of Shauna Na, according to Dad's Dead Pop Culture.
Hang on a second. Did they have their own show?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They wanted football pointers. And that's why, and Rosie was showing them how to do needlepoint. I forgot. That was well known that Rosie Greer did needlepoint.
Are you serious?
How do you remember that? Damn.
Are you serious? Are you messing with me?
Yeah, I remember at the time. He was like, he would talk about it like on talk shows.
God, that's a good one. Oh, look at this. Drawing for Fun and Profit says, I remember meeting my great-grandmother in North Carolina for the first time many years ago. She was a quarter Cherokee, looked about 500 years old, and had an affinity for chewing tobacco. Good times. Actually, this is true right here. Did you guys know that Clint Eastwood did a guest spot on Mr. Ed?
Nope.
Oh, you got to look that up on YouTube.
Oh, horses, of course. Oh, horses, of course.
Well, Mr. Ed calls up Clint Eastwood, and they're on like a party phone or something. So this guy's calling to give Clint Eastwood a job in a movie, and Mr. Ed is butting in and ruining the whole thing for Clint. So it's really wild. I mean, it's just like, it really is funny to see Clint Eastwood on a show like that, and you're like, he's going to kill that horse. Because this had to have been, it was black and white, so it's probably like, what, early 60s, right? When Mr. Ed came out. Yeah. So it was before Clint, it was probably post Rawhide, but it wasn't, it was pre any of his spaghetti westerns. So.
Yeah.
Now look at all this TV stuff that's coming in now. Burt Reynolds got beat up by the dolphin on Flipper. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Burt Reynolds. You guys like we're all relatively, same age, give or take. Was it like, I mean, there were like guys that, even when I was a kid in the 70s, right, that you had to go see their movies. And like, Burt Reynolds was one of them.
Absolutely.
For a while.
Smoking the Bandit.
Well, see, when he was doing, he got a little too crazy with, who was that? The guy was a stunt driver or a stunt man turned director, Hal Needham. And he did all those like Cannonball Run and all that kind of crap. And
I love that. You don't like those?
I guess when you're a little kid, we went and saw like the first, because they had so many guest stars in it, Mm-hmm. They got a little silly though as I got older, and I was like, Bert, come on, get back to your, what was that prison movie he was in? The Longest Yard.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
The chat is swapping matriarch tobacco chewing stories.
Yeah. See what you started with your goiter story. Crazy. So now Dan, you said you still got all your, well, okay, you didn't say that, but I'm asking, do you still have like a collection of G.I. Joes? I mean, was that something you hung on to?
Well, yeah, my brother kind of hung on to them, and so they're around somewhere. I got some of it, but yeah, we kept them. They just went up in the garage, like the rafters of the garage, and so we kept them there. So.
Are you a collector at all of stuff? I mean, like that?
No, no. No, it was just it's just nostalgic stuff. All that stuff is, like I said, that guy is missing limbs and half of them the hair is falling out, the glue and everything. So,
well, why did you? I mean, obviously, you had to have been a comic fan as a kid, right?
Yeah, but I was very limited in the amount of comics I bought because I had to buy, and I bought my paper out my own my own money. My parents wouldn't buy anything, so I only had like 8 to 10 comics. I remember when I was younger, and I was so. This is why I don't know why I was so driven artistically, but I actually refer to them as my drawing lessons. I loved drawing it from the start, and I took it very seriously, and I still do.
Well, why? Okay, why then did you get into comics first, or did you get into commercial art, then kind of branched out into comics? And
I was commercial? Total comics all the way. I loved comics. Just. And in high school, someone gave me or I bought it from him, the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way.
Yeah.
And I dreamt that book existed before I even saw it. I just thought I wish I had a book that would, because people always come up to you and say, yeah, I got a cartooning book or How to Draw Comics book, whatever. And it was never, it was all these old, kind of silly comics and stuff.
Right.
But it wasn't Marvel comics. I knew the comics that I wanted to draw, and that guy. I remember him saying, "I got a How to Draw Comics book for you. You'll like it. I think it's Marvel." I'm like, "Yeah, right." Next day, he shows up with that thing, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" It was like someone gave me the Holy Grail. I was just like, "This is the greatest thing ever," and I ate it up.
It was.
So my artistic beginnings were, John Buscema kind of stuff. So, but in that book though, it had Jack Kirby. It had I think it may have had some Gene Colan. It had Gene. It had
a lot
Gene
of
Colan.
John Buscema.
And may have had some Gil Kane. I don't know, but or John Romita, but mainly John Buscema. But like I said, there was a number of things from
because they showed panels from different comics and stuff in there.
Right. So I started looking up Gene Colan's work in Tomb of Dracula, and so I collected a lot in Tomb of Dracula, and I really approached the comic books that I collected as learning. I picked the best art. And the story was almost irrelevant. It was not a secondary thing. So I would get all the interesting stuff. I got some of the British stuff, the Judge Dredd, and was it Cam Kennedy, and of course Brian Boland. A lot of these, I saw great art. I like that's it. I want that, and I kept working it from that angle. So
did you, Dan? Did you collect comics by the artist or character?
By the artist.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And so
even at a young age, did you do that?
It was all by artists. It was never like.
Yeah. Well, at a pretty young age, Aaron, I didn't have many comics, period. But it just so happened that the ones that I got, like I remember one of the first comics I ever bought was the John Buscema's Silver Surfer versus Thor issue.
Oh yeah.
Which is still a great piece of art, comic art. So it's hard to top it.
I saw I told this story somewhere online, I'm sure, but there's an interview on YouTube, I believe it is, with John Buscema, and he talked about a variety of things, but one of the things he talked about was that cover, and he was saying that when he first turned that cover in. He said he took it in to Stan, and Stan just railed on it. Oh my gosh,
really?
I hate this. This is, whatever. You're not getting it. All this kind of stuff. And he said, he finished he left the office thinking he didn't know if he was long for Silver Surfer anymore. And then he says, fast forward, many years in the future, and now it's a classic cover, right? Considered one of the covers of all time in comics, and. Stan comes up to him at a show or someplace, and they were talking about that cover, and Stan's like, "That's one of the greatest covers you ever did, John." And talking all this stuff, and Buscema's like, "You hated it when I turned it in," and he's like, "What are you talking about? I never," and so it's kind of funny to hear that sort of that story from Buscema about how Stan had a selective memory for. One of the greatest covers of all time, But it wasn't really clear why he hated it. You know, I'm trying to remember in the interview, but it was just, you know, he said he was just not, you don't get the character and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know how you could turn a cover in like that. Someone go, yeah, no, this just doesn't do it. This is terrible. It's like, what? Are we looking at the same thing?
It's like Michelangelo. Like,
oh my gosh.
That cover.
So, anyway, that was reminded me of that. You know, I know I brought this up before too, but Gary, did you would remember this if any of you guys would. You remember that Charlton put out a sort of how to draw comics, a little pamphlet sort of booklet that was by Tom Sutton, did a lot of work in it, and
I do remember that. Wasn't the Green Lantern artist from the 80s? I can't remember his name.
It was Nicola Cudi.
No, before that.
Here it is right here. Now, this isn't the original. I had the original someplace and I couldn't find it. So I was like, I just went to see if it was available, and I found that they had reprinted it. Right. So this is like from 1973. That
cover illustration is pretty authentic to what comic artists do to make a deadline.
Yeah, I know. I think that's Sutton. But yeah, it was written by Nicola Cudi, featuring art by Frank Bravo, Nicola Cudi, Steve Ditko, Alfago, who's that? Wayne Howard, Joe Staton, and Tom Sutton.
Staton, that's what I was trying to think of. Joe Staton.
That's right.
But it has all
Marcus,
this
in memory, Marcus.
You know, he's got like this splash page from, I think this is probably E-Man or something, maybe, with Staton in it. And
Joe Staton was the first pencil artist that I inked when I started doing backgrounds at DC.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did come in there. There's E-Man. Remember when that came out? It's like Charlton doing an actual superhero comic, but it was kind of goofy. It was weird, but I kind of liked the art, so I bought it.
There's a documentary about that He-Man and how it came to be. I thought it was interesting, and I watched it.
Yeah, this has even like little. The reason I got this is because I was thinking about doing some hand lettering, and I know this had a lettering section in it, and yeah, there it is. But it's really not very informative.
Oops.
Got the old Ames lettering guide and everything. Remember those?
Oh yeah, I still use that.
I don't know how to use it. That's what I don't understand. Because all you do is use it to draw the lines, right?
Yeah, it's just to draw the guidelines, and so it's consistent, and you can just move. You set it on a ruler, and you just move the ruler down as you draw the lines, and so you don't have to mess around with the straight edge.
Yeah, but there's
Guys,
very little.
This drawing pencil like this, it's such a crutch. I mean, digital to me now is such a crutch. This head, I want to move it back, like just an eighth of an inch,
There's
quarter
only
inch.
one way to do that.
And I could do it in the computer. Just grab it, pull it out, and maybe even reduce the size. Oh, it's just like, it's so funny. I don't, because a lot of times what I do now is I draw something out digitally. I draw it and then I print it out. So I worked out all the proportions and everything in it, for that. So just to draw something raw, it's kind of wild. It's like
have any of you computer accidentally drawn on paper and tried this?
You broke up there, David. Can you say that again?
Yeah.
Are you trying to raise it up and make it bigger or something?
Oh my gosh.
On a piece of paper, you're like, oh, it's not working.
I've actually had people say that before. That they go to the paper and start trying to do this to make it bigger. And it's not doing anything. They're like, wait a minute.
Dan, I'm thinking on your piece.
What?
One of the memories that I have of that film is, I think it was at the beginning when Kurt Russell's driving his truck and like narrating his deeds. He was munching on this massive hero sandwich.
Uh-huh.
And I was wondering,
he's not doing. That's in Big Trouble in Little China.
Well, that's something at Kurt Russell, where I always wondered where he got that sandwich.
Where you could get
So
one.
that open hand that you've got there, I think should be filled with this massive sandwich.
Alrighty. You got it, man.
Have you guys seen the opening scene that they cut out of Escape from New York?
No.
Where
is it a sub sandwich?
Yeah, it's like it's as big as a football. I mean, it's massive.
Yeah, well, you're thinking about Big Trouble in Little China, the opening of
Yes.
Big Trouble in Little China, not
Yes, not
Escape from New York.
Right.
But no, there's a scene in Escape from New York that they filmed with Pliskin and his buddy that he references later in the film when he's talking to the brain, where they're ripping off some high tech bank thing, and then
they're talking about their past.
Yeah, but they show that scene, and they get in the subway, and Panama Bob or whatever his buddy is gets killed by the cops, and then he gets taken in. And
they film that?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really unnecessary. I mean, it's clear why they cut it out once you see it, but it's interesting nonetheless to see it because it's probably about, I don't know, a 15-minute scene where they rip off the bank and try to get away and get caught. But it's sort of, in a way, it sort of diminishes the, the mystique of Snake Plissken a little bit,
Right.
You see him get captured by the cops and see him, basically just because he gets away, or he's getting away, but his buddy gets, is lagging behind. So he goes back to help him. And that's why he ends up getting captured. But I can see why they cut it out of the film, because it's like, we don't need to see this.
Yeah, that would diminish Snake's mythology.
But
Postmaster Dan mentions Davis' take, and he says it reminds him of an issue of Nexus with the monkey in glass. I don't remember that. I worked on Nexus, and I don't remember that.
Love D. Wham's take reminds me of an issue of Nexus with the monkey in glass. Is that E supposed to be there, or do we misspell something? I know there was a monkey, right? Kind of like Space Ghost had a monkey. Didn't wasn't there a monkey jumping around with Nexus once in a while, Gary, in some of those?
There were a lot of odd animals.
Well, there was like gorilla people or monkey people or something like that, wasn't there?
Aaron, you have a request to move Dan's position. Says, Justin.
Can you swap Gary and Dan's cam positions? We can't see Dan's work with the chat on top of. Oh. Well, yeah, but Gary's going to be. If I do that, I'm not sure what.
There's only room at the top.
Dan's work's looking so much over on the right, you won't be able to see it. But put Gary over where Dan is.
Just swap us.
Yeah. There you go.
Is that better?
I don't see the difference. You guys are you're seeing something that I'm not seeing, but I trust you guys on this. All right. Well, this turned out way better than I thought it was going to. So I'm pretty happy. I'm feeling confident right now.
Confident for fourth place again.
I really think you should be worried, David.
No, not so much.
I have to admit, Aaron. I mean, I can only see the blue line on camera, but from here, I do see the likeness.
Well, thank you. And the thing is, with my art, the farther you get away, the better it looks. So that's kind of my whole plan.
Down the block?
What's that?
Down the block.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm gonna go outside, and you guys will love it. Oh my gosh. Well, I am doing the thing from memory. I had a couple of Kurt Russell pieces here
Are you
kinda-
serious? You're doing it from memory?
I'm doing the thing, the creature. From
Yeah,
memory.
from memory.
Yeah, not Kurt Russell. I've got a piece here, a couple pieces with his face on it, but
So it's just this squishy thing with limbs and heads.
yeah, with the
I mean,
dogs,
okay, there you
dog heads and stretchy faces.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
I just remember that in that movie, the one scene where they're like kind of all standing around the fire going, somebody here is it, you know? And it's just so creepy because you just don't know, who that guy is, but they all know that somebody there is that guy, or is the one that's been taken over.
It's really a great film about paranoia and stuff.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Despite all the the horrific special effects and everything, it's still that kind of human paranoia that really makes that movie effective.
Nintendo Ninja and the Ginger in the chat is asking if Dan is experiencing an earthquake.
Oh,
he's got his iPhone attached to his drawing table.
There's something.
No, it's every time you hit your table, it wiggles the arm that's holding the phone, and that makes it bounce. There's not a lot you can do about that, unfortunately. My camera actually does.
There is a tightening knob here. I'm tightening it. See if that works. Oh, it took care of it. That there was a knob at the bottom that I could tighten.
It's a little better, but it's still.
It's all right. It's part of the fun, the excitement.
Just don't
drawing.
Dial back the gusto in your penciling.
Yeah.
Vigor.
A little too energetic.
So you're being too aggressive, Dan. You need to just kind of relax.
I'm an artist, expressing myself.
Oh my gosh! Well,
Can you guys hear like the pencil scratchy kind of like just the? Is it that much sound?
No, just
no.
barely.
You can't hear that. No.
I can hear.
It kind of reminds me. I was at this head agency once, and there was a long room, and they're all filled with. They didn't have any of those barriers. They didn't have any of those standees, whatever the dividers, just tables, and everyone's there, and they all got their computers, and they're all kind of typing and all this electronics. And they brought me in to kind of draw some images and stuff, and so I pull out my I got my creative supplies and pencils and stuff. You can hear everything. It's just and I've got my little electronic pencil sharpener going. It felt like I was like some old ancient peddler, this is the old way we used to do shit, Let me tell you, I got the pencil sharpener here, a little bit of sharp pencil, and go for it. I just felt funny because I felt like the old time ancient guy there.
That's funny though.
David, are you using reference for that gun? Because it looks accurate.
Don't ask. He'll lie. He's going to say no, which he's got it probably taped up like 40 pieces right off camera.
Where do you see? I'm right here. I haven't taken my hands off of the thing. I've been looking at the paper. I've been drawing.
So are you Kirbying that gun?
I'm a genius.
Well, I just say if you are, then I have to tip my hat. That looks pretty cool.
He won't tell you the truth. He's got reference posted up all over the place. You can't trust him. David's all about winning, even though this is not a competition. It's just
David's drawing space is just filled with Ultraman posters.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I did my homework when I found out what I was going to do. I was like, I for any assignment I ever do, I delve into it. I go in, I pour through reference and try to get everything accurate and gun reference, because I like to get things right when I'm doing an assignment. I don't know. It seems important to me.
I'm just the opposite, man. I want to be as lazy as possible, and No, I mean, if you're doing a commercial job, obviously you've got to, you know.
I think that's what it's from. I just like you absorb yourself in the product. You do the research, pull as much reference as possible, and so you can kind of do it right.
I had when I was working commercial art, I got called in. Now, for those who don't know, Nike, the headquarters for Nike is in Beaverton, Oregon, which is a suburb of Portland. They have this huge, it's like the Disneyland for tennis shoes, right? This huge campus. And I got called in there because they were having a meeting with it was like the mayor and the city council, and there was other, people at Nike. I can't even remember what the whole reason for it all was, but they called our studio and said, "Hey, we need somebody to come in and do like they were going to have this big whiteboard, and they wanted someone to do to visualize what was being discussed."
Yeah, I've done that. It's crazy, isn't it?
Holy crap! That was you want to talk about pressure? Shoot, it's priest, man. So there's all these people. The mayor of Portland. That was Bud Clark, Gary.
Yeah, okay. That guy was a Barnum and Bailey barker. Remember him?
Well, he was a tavern owner, and then he ran for mayor.
Yeah, but he won. That says pretty much all you need to know about Portland.
Yeah, and but yeah, so I sat there for a couple hours drawing this. Just I can't even imagine doing it now, but I was just like, yeah, whatever. I went in there, and So you've done that before, Dan, too?
Yeah. They had a couple artists come in. I learned pretty quick that you can't see these drawings as well from 50 feet away. So I did all this stuff and they put it up on the board, and I went back to the back of the classroom and I can't even see mine. The other guys who had been more experienced, they had these thick markers and they just put the bold stuff in there. But yeah.
Well, the funny thing, this is the comment I got. Okay, they broke for lunch, and I don't know, they've been talking for an hour or whatever, and I would just had a black marker, right? One of those markers you use on the board, right? Those whiteboards, and so I was just drawing whatever, figures of people, different thing like that, but it was all black and white, right? And so they go, well, it needs more color, meaning, more racial diversity. And so I'm like,
of course.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it was who's thinking about that when you're trying, people are talking and you're just trying to bust your butt to try and keep up with what they're saying and get images on the board and stuff, right? So while everybody else was, having lunch, I was in there, coloring the different people. So that, and this was 30 years ago.
Now you got to have transgender people.
I know, my gosh, we need a little more transgender representation in your drawings. I'm like, yeah, probably not from me or not.
Could you please put a bulge in her dress, sir?
What I can't imagine what the hell happened. This is the world went crazy.
I have a friend that was telling me a story from a realtor friend that he had in Montana, that a bunch of cash healthy individuals came in to buy a bunch of property and compound type estates. And as they were signing all the papers, when the agent is going through each page with stickies to tell you where to sign on what paper. So there's a big stack of these stuff that using all these stickies, all these signatures. And one of the women says, make sure you recycle all those sticky papers. And she was serious. And she just flew in on a private jet.
Exactly, right?
Recycling the sticky papers.
Oh my gosh. People are so, it's these elites, it's like we want you to do this, but we don't have to. We just want you little peons to do this stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a question in the chat, Drawing for Fun and Profit, for David, that he's curious on the mileage you getting out of the Zig calligraphy markers.
Oh, I love those things. I'll be putting them to use on this piece here soon.
I'm still using mine too, and they're it's like I'm using combo of these microns and the zigs. The zigs I like the ink better on because it's darker, but those flat edges are still giving me problems on some of the thinner lines I do. So I'm using them like to do holding lines and stuff.
Yeah.
And fill in blacks because I love it, but I still don't get not using them correctly or haven't.
Yeah, it's still a learning process for me too, but I'm finding new things to use them for. So.
Right.
David, did you ever see those refill bottles for some of the markers? I used to have those. I still have those, refill bottles, and that's how I got through back when I was doing the storyboards with markers. You would run out of you couldn't have just markers. You'd run out of it in the middle of a job, and you have to have those ink bottle things that are close by to refill. So I actually got good at I'd work with them, and I'd fill them and then take a stroke with it kind of, if there's a large area and stuff like that. So
yeah, I have some of those, but it's messy and unnecessary, and I'm just like, you know what?
Yeah, it's added work.
Dude, I was throwing those things away. I was throwing Copic markers away because I didn't know you could refill them. I think it was Tim Townsend's like, dude, you know you can refill those, right? And I'm like, what?
You mean you didn't recycle the plastic?
No, it did not. I do recycle my sticky notes, though.
David, did you change something? We're seeing the back of your head now. Are you like looking? Oh, you're inking. I see. He's getting in there close.
Yeah, I don't want to miss any details.
We've got an hour to go, a little over an hour, so you don't have to be too stressed. But
David mentioned something. I thought it was interesting. Previous conversation. Do you guys, when you pencil, can you multitask and like hold conversations and watch YouTube videos, or do you have to focus?
Can't watch anything.
I can't watch anything. I can talk, but
yeah, I can't watch.
When I ink, I can do a bunch of stuff, but when I draw, I can't. I can only do that one thing. And David mentioned that when he's inking, he has to focus, and when he's penciling, he can juggle chainsaws.
Well, go ahead.
I generally keep television on as a timer. Like I'll put on movies that I've seen a cajillion times, and I tell myself, okay, by the time this is over, I better have X amount of work done. You know what I mean? And I try to use that instead of an actual timer.
Dude, I always get drawn, whatever I have on, unless it's sports I can just kind of, like if it's a football game or basketball game or whatever, I can just have it on in the background for noise. But if it's like a movie or something, even if it's a movie I've seen 100 times, I will inevitably turn and start watching scenes,
Yes.
And then I'm like, okay, I'm not getting anything done. So
I used to listen to a lot of movie soundtracks.
Yeah, that's good.
That kind of, because anything John Williams kind of stuff in it, because it was story related, like it was storytelling related, so it kind of got you going, and it sort of when you listen to something like The Planets or something, the Gustav, it's like man, that just gets you you feel like drawing sci-fi and all that stuff. Like it's great.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of books on tape. Dan, is that a pencil you're using, or is something?
No, it's a.
Are you like
see.
softening the pencil?
Yeah. It's like a piece. It's like a tight rolled up joint. I mean, piece of paper.
So what do you call that when you're like kind of smearing the pencil?
Smearing.
Is there an art term for that? Smudging.
Well, yeah, smudging, I think, is the
smudge. It's there's smudge to it, probably. Yeah, it's a good word.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah.
You've transformed that drawing into a metal texture by doing that.
Hey, you don't mess with Snake Plissken, okay? Especially when Dan Lawless is drawing them.
You don't mess with the computer wore tennis shoes guy. No.
That's right. Those are the dangerous guys. Those are computer.
Do you guys remember like Flubber and things like that?
Oh yeah.
Those were great.
It's like Fred McMurray was in Flubber, wasn't he?
Yeah. What a great invention that was.
What was that movie he was in with Jimmy Stewart? They were like, they just got out of prison, and Jimmy Stewart were trying to find this money that he'd been hiding, and they were.
Fred McMurray and Jimmy Stewart.
No. Kurt Russell as a kid.
Oh, as a kid?
Yeah, he was like a teenager.
Yeah, what was the one where he became super smart? He got electrocuted or something?
Well, that was a computer wore tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kurt Russell was in a bunch of those Disney films when he was younger. He's like one of the few guys that actually transitioned really well into adult film roles.
Yeah.
From being a kid star.
They should put him in the that scene where he can't remember the stuff. They should put him in Spock's brain. Star Trek.
Oh, Mighty Geek Studios asks when I'm going to start my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Gary, when are you going to?
I'm working on that. I'm thinking about doing an interview type thing where I just one-on-one and just like delve into, like you guys, delve into your careers and how you got started and, stories and stuff like that.
Were we real chick magnets back in the day? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. This stuff that people are dying to know.
I was a chick magnet, except the negative repulsion. The negative polarity.
It was like when you turn the two magnets around and they're like they bounce off.
I walk in, they're literally pushed across the floor.
Yeah, I was thinking about Mighty Geek. I was thinking about doing a inking thing on YouTube, but I'm just springing for a type of camera, like what you guys have, what you're using. I just can't pull the trigger on that. I don't want to spend a lot of money on a camera.
Well, no, wait. No, they're not all. This one I'm using right now is less than $100.
Really?
Yes. You're looking at the wrong stuff, man.
Although I can see what you're doing, but I can't see. Okay, like Dan, I can see every line he's making.
Well, yeah, but if this was full screen,
my iPhone.
Like if you're doing, look at this full screen.
Okay, draw, ink.
Okay.
That's not bad.
And you can always, if you wanted to get in close, and I do this all the time, is you just move in here, right?
How did you do that with the arm of the camera?
Yeah, it's kind of like a bendy arm that this thing is attached to. So
do you have it mounted to your drawing board?
Yeah.
On the side?
Yep.
And it doesn't hit you in the head?
No. I'm like, it's below me, actually, for most of the time.
I need a better.
Even if I pull this out, like, to here, it's still below me. It's not, it's really not in my way. It's pretty, they're small. They're really small and,
Yeah, one slick dude says that the movie I was thinking about was Fool's Parade. Yes, that's the movie I was thinking about with Jimmy Stewart and Kurt Russell.
So Jimmy Stewart's got to be like old Jimmy
Yes,
Stewart, like
yes.
really old.
It's the
Jimmy
one where
Stewart.
he has like a glass eye and he takes it out and does some creepy.
I don't think I've seen that.
I think Aaron's chat is probably the smartest chat in the world.
Yeah.
These guys bring it, man. They know stuff.
Wouldn't it be great to have these guys, you know, I say guys, I mean boys and girls following you around like on your phone and in life. So
And you
at a
have
party,
a,
you're talking about, you know,
you have a headpiece. And they can just feed you the information.
yeah,
Like
they
Biden.
just give you information off the
Girl, I don't need Google. I got these guys.
Okay, I have switched over to the Zig pen. Trying
From the
to-
zag, is that what you?
Yeah, I zigging when I should be zagging, I think. But you just have to think a little bit more because you have to know what side your pen is on when you go in there to use it. So you can get-
Postmaster, who are you directing that question to? Do you remember what having hair felt like?
That's
Gee,
all Aaron.
who could he possibly
That's all Aaron.
Yeah,
I just don't want there to be any doubt. On
Yeah.
It's been a while. That's kind of what it felt like when I started losing my hair.
Just in case you're feeling good about yourself, they got
Yeah,
it.
no, I hung on to my hair till I was past 40, and then it just started leaving, and it was like, wait a minute, where are you going? So
And Kurt Russell's doing the mambo now.
I know he's doing that. Really, he's getting that hardcore like sketching in there, and it's just like he's bouncing all over the place.
Nervous. I had a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
Well, you don't think about it when you're working. You know, you're like,
No.
I can see now. I'm looking at shit. Just hang in there, folks. There's a little turbulence happening.
Yeah, I'm starting
Seatbelt light is on now.
to get nauseous here.
Gary, do you remember how turbulent that plane ride was down to the Malibu thing?
People were audibly gasping.
I thought we were going to die. I seriously did. That was insane.
It was like a movie where people were, you know, weeping and you could hear prayers and it was,
And we were sitting there it was you, me, Terry Dodson. Was there anybody else there? Or was it just the three of us?
was Rachel there with us?
Who?
Rachel?
I don't think so.
Seems
No,
like
she
it was-
wasn't, because she would have lost her mind if she was.
I don't know. She's pretty cool. It seems that there was one other person. Was that the Malibu trip
Yes.
where the guy who drove us to the hotel or the event? It was just some crummy airport van, and he was talking about cruising for chicks. You remember that? So it had, Rachel couldn't have been with us if he would have said.
No, but we were sitting there trying to have this. We were having a conversation about comic art and whatever, and the plane is just literally dropping like 50 feet at a time, and then bouncing back up and dropping, and we were in this major storm, and we just kept like trying to talk like nothing was going on. It was totally fine, and finally I said I could not take it anymore. I just said, does anybody else think we're gonna die?
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Laughing.
So you're the hey, what's with the goiter kind of guy. You pointed out.
I was just like, I mean, it was so intense.
No one wanted to mention the fear, but Aaron is like, hey man. And that's right. I forgot about that.
I remember a flight I was on when it was really heavy turbulence like that, and the guy I was with, he goes afterwards. He goes, "You were like one of those cartoon cats that with the feet on the ceiling, you know, you're grabbing that seat so bad." Like, yeah, I was.
Oh, it was. I was trying to be cool, you know, but it was. I have never experienced turbulence like that in my life. It was like we were storm chasers or something. You know, we were right in the middle of a hurricane. It was nuts, but we lived to tell the tale.
Revelator is asking why you're leaving Kurt's face for last, and I'm guessing because we all do that because that's the hardest part. We don't want to blow it.
Well,
that's what I do.
I was going to start there, and I realized that some of this creature crosses in front of his face and in part of his coat and jacket. So I said, well, why don't I just do the creature first, and then I'll do Kurt last, because I'll establish the stuff that because I was doing his hair here, and I realized some of these like pointy tentacle things are crossing in front of his hair. So I was like, I should do those first.
Yeah,
so
I always leave that kind of stuff for last because I'm scared, basically.
I always pick out, when I'm inking, I always pick out the coolest thing on the page. And I think, Gary, you're just the opposite.
Yeah, I do. I leave the coolest thing for last.
Right, right. And I do it first. And then it's like you got this, all the crap that's left on the page, you've already done the fun stuff, and you're like,
Yeah. Then you got to ink, fence posts or.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I try to get that stuff out of the way. Plus, it helps me warm up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's true.
JW asks me if I like the Tombow brush pens. I do not. I tried them and they didn't do anything for me. I'm still a brush and indie ink dude.
Well, a lot of guys use those as, they started using them as tools at conventions for like sketches and stuff, and they just got used to using them. But
Dan Panosian used to be that guy.
Who's that?
Dan Panosian used to be the Tombow guy.
I asked him what he used to get his line quality. I can't remember. It was on one of his tweets. He may have answered, and I just never went back and checked. But
I'm sure he's not using them now, but back in the day, that was his go-to pen.
Well, I bet most people are using markers now.
I am.
Yeah. And I think there's a fine line or not so fine line between inking with those markers and drawing with those markers.
Yeah.
I think that's you're embellishing your inking if you're just drawing with ink over your pencil lines. I don't consider that inking, even though people call it inking.
Well, what it is it's an extension of, for me, I'm more comfortable, with a pencil in my hand. So if I get a pen in my hand that is comparable to it's an ink pencil basically, then it's a more comfortable way of doing it. Whereas with a brush, you've got to be, we've talked about this before, you've got to be so disciplined.
Well, I'm not talking about the merits of brush versus pen. I'm just, people who use these kinds of pens tend to do all the same line weights. It's like with Aaron, I would consider what you're doing inking because you're adding line weights and
right.
You're embellishing as you go. You're not just drawing with the pen over the pencils.
Right.
And like with David, he almost uses his pens like brushes where he presses down and gets different thicknesses with, one tool.
I know there's guys that do that, like Kevin Nolan would probably be the famous one, has a kind of dead line weight that seems to work, but every time I do that on my stuff, it just feels too flat. I like having line weights even if they're light in comparison, not real bold stuff like Klaus Janson or something, but it helps give the drawing volume.
Yeah. I think the
holding
one advantage of using a brush is that you can do classic type feathering with it.
Yes.
That's hard to do with modern pens. You can do it, but it's harder.
Yeah, it's hard to get that thicker base on your feather lines.
Right.
You can get the tip, but it's like this one thin line, and then it goes to a sharp tip, but you're not getting that real thickness at the base.
Right. Yeah.
That's why I reverted to doing so much cross hatching. It eliminates the need for, you get that soft blend from dark to light through cross hatching, as opposed to just doing it with a feather line, which you really need a brush to do effectively.
The Goredox says that David Finch uses Tombow brush pens.
He's got a good drawstring too. I haven't watched enough of those. He always has like interesting people on there with him, or a lot of times, and they like he had Areola.
That must have been
Get your mind out the gutter. This is a drawstring.
Ariel Olivetti on there. He was painting with acrylics and stuff. It was really interesting.
Is that his scripper name?
Oh boy.
Drawing for Fun and Profit says that he loves the look of traditional brushwork, but he's too chicken to stray from his pens. I would recommend that you just take some time to practice with the brush, because I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think brush is something that you just do well from,
Well, no, that's
that you have to develop the control and the knowledge and the skill to use it well. It took me literally years.
Yeah, I was going to say it took me years. In fact, it wasn't until I met you that I was able to kind of refine my brush work, because I didn't really know what I was doing. It was too bold. It was too not sloppy, but just too thick. And after talking with you and looking at what you did and stuff, I was sort of able to kind of get a better grip and understanding of what I wanted to accomplish with a brush. But it's now.
Well, that's a really good point. You have to educate yourself of what can be done with the brush by looking at different brush artists, and then once you know what can be done, then just keep practicing to try to emulate that. But I like different people. Like I say, for Aaron and I, it took us a while before we started liking what we were doing. We mentioned Rachel Dotson, who, great inker, inks pretty much all of Terry's stuff. She assisted me for a while, and I think I told the story where Terry and Rachel came to me and during the Studio Source days, or pre-Studio Source days.
Yeah.
And Terry said, "Can Rachel assist you and you teach her how to ink with the brush? I want her to ink my stuff." And Rachel had no comic book background.
Right. She
didn't read comics. She didn't know about comics, but she did have an art background.
Mm-hmm.
So I was dubious, and she inked my backgrounds. And I think it only lasted about our partnership only lasted about 3 months, because she was picking up brush techniques so quickly that at the end of like 3 or 4 months, I just said, "Hey, I can't, pay you the piddly amount that I'm paying you to ink my backgrounds. You need to start inking your own stuff." That's how quickly she picked it up.
Yeah, that was the amazing thing. Is like her aptitude was so high that she picked that up so quickly. And
is there a lot of female inkers? It seems like something that they might do good.
Sandra Hope.
I mean, a lot. Is there a lot?
No. I mean, there's just not a lot of women in general, but they're becoming, more. A spotlight is on them now.
Oh, someone's asking why I'm not drawing. Because I don't like drawing when somebody's watching me. I don't like inking while somebody's watching me, but drawing is harder for me than inking. And I don't do, like if I'm at a Comic-Con at Artist Alley, I don't do commissions at the show. I'll take them home and do them, but I don't. I just don't like it. Don't like anybody watching me.
Gary's here for the witty conversation.
Yeah, for my rugged good looks. That's what.
Are you sure you're not just paying somebody else to do it and taking a cut? I can't have anybody watching me. Sorry.
Yeah, he's the Bob Kane of inking.
But I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, don't you guys like use different techniques or systems when you're doing convention drawings than when you're at home?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's something I never learned. Like when I would do stuff at conventions, I would bring my brushes and indie ink, and I would use those at a show. And that's that could be.
Gary, how long have I been trying to get you to use a Sharpie?
Yeah, I know. I just don't like the line. And so I would bring my inking stuff, and I got to the point where this is crazy. I'm gonna have a huge disaster that's just waiting to happen. So I stopped doing that.
Yeah, it takes a while. Well, it took me a while. I shouldn't speak for everybody, but it took me a while to figure out sort of a convention approach to the artwork.
But it is correct me if I'm wrong, it is a different approach than if you're like drawing stuff at home.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's like I say, I never learned that like convention style technique. I tried to do the stuff that I did at home at conventions, and it doesn't work. For me, it didn't work.
Convention technique.
Inking like you do on your lap is not what I would think would be an easy thing.
Yeah, I would have a lap board, and I would prop it up against the table that people are standing next to.
Bumping.
And yes, so yeah, it didn't work.
Let's see. Okay, we got 45 minutes, gentlemen. I am meandering way too long on this creature. I don't want to rush Kurt Russell, but hey, the monster is really the star of the show, right? So
JW's asking if I've ever, I don't know if it's me, maybe it's everyone in the chat, have fans request we ink their stuff, an ink only commission.
That's for you.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you guys have you inked other people's stuff like at shows.
No,
I don't like that. I don't, because
have you done it?
No, what I have people like, I'll sell like roughs and stuff, layouts for covers and roughs, and then people will take those and get somebody to ink it.
Well, somebody they can afford.
Right, and it looks like crap. And it's like,
right, yeah.
First of all, it's like it was never intended to be inked because it's not a finished drawing, right? And it just drives me nuts. And so I've actually started telling people when they buy my roughs is like, please don't get these inked. If you're going to get them inked, then don't buy them because they are what they are. If you want, if you want something else, then go get someone to commission them because it's like. And then they show it to you like, and they're proud, like, hey, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm trying not to, I mean, once they buy it, they can do whatever they want to with it. But it's like.
Yeah, it sounds like, though, you're still, hanging on. You don't want someone, messing with your child that you've let go.
Well,
once
if
it's not yours anymore.
Though,
they can, I don't care what they could use it as placemats for a spaghetti feast. I don't care.
Well, no, there's a certain amount of personal,
I know, but once cash exchanges hands, then I have to let it go and say,
Well, no, I can't say anything about it once they do that, and I never tell somebody if they go get it inked, like, oh yeah, that blows. Why did you do that? You're driving me crazy.
Maybe you should say that.
I've been on the other end of that because the question was, do I accept commissions like that? People bringing me pencils to ink, and a lot of times it's neopros or people who want to become professionals want to see their stuff inked by a professional. But I'll take commissions at a show. Let's say someone like Michael Golden is at the show, and someone will buy a pencil and then bring it to me to ink. They're going to get a much more reasonable rate from me than from Michael Golden. But Michael Golden,
you're a professional inker.
Hates that because he thinks it's money that he should be getting because he should be inking it, not some poser like, yeah, I'll ink Golden.
Well, for me, it's not about the money; it's just about the quality, right? And
yeah.
When you're inking something that isn't finished, when you're, it's like, it's like taking I don't know, with John Buscema layouts, right? But you give it to Joe Sinnott, he's going to do something with it, but you give it to just some guy who's got a table at a con, and you're like, well, you don't know what you're going to get. And generally, it's not great.
A lot of times they give it to like their friends, that kind of My buddy Billy wants to be an inker.
Yeah, so you guys in the chat, don't do that. If you buy like sketches, don't get them inked by somebody else, man.
That's kind of my experience at Marvel, though. Here it is. What did you do to it? Hell.
I bought a zombie sketch from Jim Starlin, like in the late 70s, and I used to practice inking on it. But I used tracing paper. Back then we called it vellum.
Yep.
And so I would ink on it. I probably inked on it 10 times over a period of, a couple of years, just as a gauge to my progress. And then eventually I ended up selling the original, but the original was untouched. It was still
right.
Starlin's pencils.
Well, that's the way you do it, right? Is you take...
now you can do blue line, but
right, exactly. You don't have to mess with it.
Right.
But my biggest problem was when I do these roughs, they're not particularly well drawn, right? So you don't want it necessarily immortalized as a finished piece because you didn't do a good job on it to begin with. So now it looks like a finished piece that is really poorly drawn, and you're like, well, it was just a rough sketch, and
you're just communicating things to yourself in that drawing that other people don't know what you're thinking.
Right. And so then you got this finished piece with your name on it, and you're like, that like that's not what I intended.
I'm blanking too. Postmaster Dan asks about the actress in The Bride of Frankenstein. Help me out, Aaron.
Elsa Lanchester?
Yes. Elsa Lanchester, yes. Okay, JW says, I'll buy layouts from one guy, finished pencils based off the layouts from another, inks from another, and colors from another. The most expensive commission ever.
He's trying to get my head to explode. That's why he's saying that.
He's building his own all-star team. But yeah, I would have been much less expensive if you had one guy do all that. Because if somebody asks me, like at a show, to ink their friend's drawing, and the drawing isn't, I'll just say, professional quality.
Yeah.
I'll mark up my price. It's like battle pay, for inking. Stuff like that. And so, yeah, if my rate is one thing, then I pad the rate.
I started doing that with guys come to me with characters with wings. Like, okay, that's extra.
Anything with wings, you'd raise the.
Yep.
Because they're difficult, or you just loathe.
Well, both. I mean, well, not that they're
wings.
difficult. It's just time consuming. I mean, there's just, you put in feathers and, it's just like, and I would always have guys that like were gamers and they had like we draw my character, and they got, the turnaround and everything for you, but it always had wings. And I was just like, okay, no more wings.
Yeah, I'm like that with motorcycles.
Oh, if somebody wants a motorcycle at a con, you're like, yeah, no. I'm going to draw Ghost Rider standing there. He's not
anything with ellipses, and that's just, ellipses are a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even drawing Cap's shield is hard enough because I don't bring, I don't bring everything with me at a con. So it's like, now I got to hand do this shield and it's going to be all lumpy looking.
Well, motorcycle aficionados are hardcore. So like David could pull off just making up a motorcycle. I can't. I have to, I need reference. And
yeah, me too. Well, the funny thing is, if you're out of the loop, like I haven't, even when I was still working in mainstream, I hardly ever read the books. And there's so many new characters, and people are like, hey, can you draw this character? And you're like, I don't even know who that is. And you're like,
yeah, somebody that they made up.
Well, no, I mean, they could like pull an X-Men character up that I've never heard of, and you're like, so then you got to hope that your internet's working on your phone, so your Wi-Fi can dig it up.
I just tell them that I don't have reference. You provide the reference, and then I'll do it, and they'll go off and then come back with a comic.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea.
What's weird about this drawing I'm working on is people are seeing it from an angle, so you're seeing it distorted, like this. To see it right, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you do like this, all of a sudden it looks like his head's too big for his body.
Well, that's the big reveal at the end when they can see it correctly, and they go,
it's
"Oh,
more
wow."
shortened and wobbly.
That's
I
right.
got to get a rocker arm. Obviously, that's independent.
Actually, it's not jumping around as much as it was.
Right, because I'm not doing anything right now. So
Okay.
kind of done.
Are you finished?
I'd say so.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Let me zoom in a little bit.
Very cool.
I wouldn't say so. You got to paint it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Come on,
right.
get some color on there, Dan. You got time. No excuses.
How much time we got?
Dan's got the snake tattoo.
You got 36 minutes.
Oh,
Really?
Look at that sandwich.
Yeah,
That's a lot of time.
color on there, man. Show us your technique.
Okay.
Hey, according to Aaron, Dan won because he finished first.
Is that
I
it?
never said that. I just said you should finish during the show. The show's still going.
Yeah.
See, now you're just misrepresenting me too. I mean, this is
Okay, guys, here's the thing I used to. This is what I did all my color stuff on. It's a frosted vellum.
You color
Really?
on that paper?
Yeah,
On that
and I
vellum?
discovered it. My brother, we were at he was an auto designer, and they use this all the time. Throw this thing over. It's just like a tracing paper, but it's even thinner, or it's even more transparent. It's kind of like a plastic.
And it holds the color.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. It's got tooth to it. So look at how you can see through that.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
so would you then like scan the color on like a separate layer and put them together, or would you?
No, you'll
do
see.
the whole drawing?
Once I kind of, I'll take out the drawing after I've gotten pretty far with it.
Uh-huh.
Let me actually. I got to get some. It really picks up the pencil though.
Back in the 90s, I did some samples for Marvel that I can't even remember the project, but they were looking for inkers for a certain project. And the editor sent out Xeroxes of the pencils along with sheets of acetate. And they wanted me to ink on the acetate. Acetate is basically, slick plastic.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was a nightmare.
Did it even dry? Was your stuff even dry?
It does, but you have to wait.
Yeah.
So, you couldn't make any mistakes. Inking on acetate was, I don't know, I never got an answer of why they wanted me to ink on acetate. Maybe it was just like they're trying to pull a joke on me and got a good laugh around the office. But I just thought that was very odd. That ink on this, I couldn't provide my own vellum.
You'll see why I chose this method. It's actually pretty fast.
Well, I'm curious now. I wonder if that's probably helps how you get a smoother look to your colored pencils, right? So it looks more painterly than it does like pencil-y.
The sad thing is this looks cool. It doesn't reproduce that well, but colored pencil does not. That's why I kind of stopped using it.
That's true.
The originals look great. The originals look great, but the colored pencil picks up this, and the camera. Even when you take a picture with a photo, it still picks it up. It's really frustrating.
Adds like a texture to it.
Yeah.
No, that's true, because you can look at just the colored pencil stuff I do, and I don't try to do it that tight. When I do colored pencil, it's usually fairly textured and loose, and you get it so it looks pretty good to your naked eye, and then you put it on the scanner, and it comes out, and you're like, Judas Priest, it looks like
looks like
like I used a crayon in third grade.
Yep. That's why I don't use it, because it's no match for the Photoshop computer. Just it looks so much better.
Well,
so what's our
there's a
time frame here, Aaron? Is our time frame 3 o'clock?
Yeah. Well, no, 3:30. We started drawing at 1:30.
Okay.
Because we do the kibitzing for 30 minutes, and then we start drawing, and then it's 2 hours.
Kibitzing?
Yeah.
What is this lingo? We're gonna have a schwitz.
Well, it's the adult diaper lingo. We were kibitzing the other day on the front porch, and
is it a Jewish term or?
I don't know.
J Dredd says Dan is awesome.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Judge Dredd. That was very nice of you to make our guest feel right at home. David would never say anything that nice.
Awesome.
I think it's nice that the chat would come in.
So what did you call that, Dan, that vellum? What is it exactly?
I don't even know the name of it. It's a...
Somebody's asking Art of Roy. Vidalion? Is that how you pronounce it? Is that Vidalion? VIDAL?
I don't know the name of it. You know why? I've never had to go to. I got this gigantic roll like 30 years ago. I've never using it. I keep using it. It's just a massive roll, and I cut pieces off of it. But I don't use this technique anymore either, so it doesn't matter,
Yeah, the Gourd Ox loves Dan's Conan.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dan's colors are so rich and almost.
Well, that's Aaron. This is the reason I went for this thing, because the colors in it are amazing. Like it's so thick and rich in chocolate. You just can't drink it slow.
You can't drink it
you got to be old enough to get that reference. You just can't. That's Nestle's Quick, right? Just can't drink it slow.
That's true. You got to chug chocolate milk. You can't drink it slow.
Now, with this stuff, I always go with the brown pencil first, because if you use the black, it mixes and it just gets skin tones. You want to give it more. You want to gradually bring in the dark stuff. If you have the if you go too early, then it can get messy. And
someone had brought this up that I thought was a decent point. if you look at somebody like Glenn Fabre, uses what appears to be just, black pencil lead or something, and does all of his shading on his paintings. And then he goes over the top of that with acrylic, and everything is cold. There's this real cold feel to it. And maybe he underpaints with, the gray. Whereas if you go in with like a brown or a tan on flesh tones I'm talking about, they're going to come out warmer, and so that makes perfect. I mean, I understand what you're saying about the bleeding and everything, or the unintentional blending, but there's also that sort of, if it's a flesh tone, unless you're particularly going for a specific cooler look.
Yeah. If this guy was had some blue or something, I would actually might use some blue pencil on it.
Yeah.
It's where you're headed to.
Exactly.
So are you coloring on this fellow?
Yep.
So you're going to have 2 originals. It's like David's going to finish the inking.
Well, we got time.
Gotta find that flesh.
I'm not out of this yet. I'm going to get this done. You watch.
I think David's going to finish before you.
Well, it's not a race. We have a time limit. So,
Oh, now it's not a race.
It's not a race, nor is it a competition unless I am the victor. But the thing is, it's like, no, you just need to finish it within the 2-hour time limit, where, David's developing this habit of like, starting it here, then like working on it all week, and he comes out with these elaborate, beautiful pieces, and he's like, "Yeah, I kicked your butt." And I'm like, "Well,
Aaron, you have the same amount of time. You could spend all week on."
Well, I could, but
well, that's breaking the rules.
That's right. I don't want to be a cheater. I don't want to be the designated cheater. David's already got that.
Aaron, I suggest, it looks like you have a hand on top of that thing that you put a big sandwich in it. and David changed the gun to
a big
sandwich. Oh, big sandwich. That makes me hungry now.
That may be a thing. Who knows?
Yeah, that could be my nickname from now on.
Big Sandwich?
Yeah.
Gary Martin,
Oh my God.
otherwise known as Big Sandwich. Big Sandwich.
Do you use a blender, Dan, or what do you call it, a smudger for the colors?
Nope.
Because they have
you'd be surprised if you touch this surface of this thing with this colored pencil, you'd see it's got such tooth to it.
Okay.
It's really quite amazing. I'm just gonna work on do his face so I can that can be done. I suppose
Right.
So,
No, I just wanted people to see this colored pencil technique that you used back in the day, because I just think it's really fascinating. Like, I didn't know you were working on that kind of paper. So
yeah, the paper is the key. It looks the best. Like I said, still unbelievably still. It just looks like shit when the rebridges. But I mean, if you looked at the Star-Lord stuff that I did, I still have that all that. When I did that fully painted 3-part series of Star-Lord for Marvel.
Like the interiors too?
Interiors, yeah.
Oh, just the same technique you're using.
Yep, this technique. If you look at the originals, they look great. I honestly, when I didn't know it was going to reproduce so badly, when I saw it,
was that
on newsprint? I saw it on newsprint. I almost cried. I was just like, "This is a year's work." It just looked like shit, and I was just like,
Dan, was that a whole process for you, time-wise? Was that cost-effective, or your page rate to do all that?
I didn't make any money anymore.
Yeah,
I just trying to get anything, just get a job and get it done. Period. Yeah. But I was it makes shit. I mean, with the page rate, I think the page was okay. If I'd gone a little faster, it's $400 a page, for a fully painted thing, where I was making $100 a page for the just the pencils, which
Okay. So let's do the math.
Yeah, I was going to say, do the math here.
How long does it take you for you back then to draw one page?
I probably could do 2 pages a week with that.
Okay, 2 pages a week. So you're making 200 a week for pencils.
No. He was talking about the painted stuff,
yeah,
right?
painted stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the painted.
If I was doing when I was doing just pencils, I probably could do four or so pages a week.
Okay, 4 pages.
Which is $400 a week, which is $20,000 a year, which is crap. You can't.
I'm just trying to
do the math. More than
so
one.
I was just like, I'm just like, I had a young family. I'm like, see that. Well, then I had a buddy, and he was a photographer, and I said, what do you know about storyboards? Because I was just like, I can't. This is not going to work, And he goes, I got a art director over here at my studio right now. He needs a storyboard artist. So I go over there, and he goes, can you do these, tonight, overnight? And I
of course.
How much? He goes, $75 a frame. And you could do, I could do 6 to 8 of those a day.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. Now I can make a living. Yeah. Now I could, I could have a family. So it was just like bye comics. I love comics, but it's like, I gotta eat.
Yep.
So it kind of sucks because I hear some of the rates that kind of came after me. They sound a little better, than what I had, but. Not I mean, if you got on the high end books, if you got on
right, and that's unfortunately, most people refer to the high end and they think that's the standard, and they don't realize, the plebes down below are just barely, enough money for food.
Well, I mean, when I was started at Marvel in like 90, maybe 1990. I was getting $85 a page. And then when Ultraverse came along in 93, they offered me $135 a page for pencils. I mean, it was, that's an incredibly huge jump.
So when was this, Aaron?
That would have been 92, because Sludge came out in 93. So I started working on it in 92. But I basically was just getting in at Marvel and may have had a different career or whatever, who knows, but I left that because the money was like, how are you going to turn down $135 a page when you're making $85 a page? Or
so you're making $85 at Malibu?
No, I was making $135.
Oh, okay. So it jumped at $135 when
you
went to Malibu. Yeah, I was making about that for my inks.
At what? When?
Malibu.
At that period of time?
Yeah. I think probably about 125.
Well, you were an established professional too. I was like just starting.
Yeah, I've been doing it a while, yeah. But still, my page rate now for these companies is lower than that. I'm serious.
It's unbelievable.
It's lower than that now than it was back then. So yeah, I mean, if you're considering getting into this business, you've got to crunch the numbers. And like what Dan did, sometimes, even though that might be your dream, if you have obligations, responsibilities, sometimes you can't afford it.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I love comic books, but not as much as my family.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you want to have a, if you're going to be a single guy and, then you can probably make it work. If you want to own a home or, have kids.
Well, yeah, you have to be single and living with your parents.
Oh my goodness.
Let's see. Somebody's past master is impressed with what Dan is doing, the coloring. He says, wow.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Where are all the people that are impressed with what I'm doing? That's what I want to hear.
Aaron can't work all week. He's got a comic to finish, according to the Gourd Ox.
I can't work all. Oh yeah, exactly. I'm working on my comic book.
Blue Boy, holy shit! Back to you.
What?
Well, I'm just repeating what he's saying to me. Somebody's past master. Dan is asking if the Leia piece is done with wash. No, it's all crosshatch.
Yep. Gary is the crazy crosshatch man.
And I crosshatch it with a brush.
Blue Boy says, Gary's a legend. So cool he's here for the stream. I'll catch the rest after work. Cheers, chat. Hey, thank you, Blue Boy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my mother thought I was.
Gary's here to read all that stuff. Gary.
Well, he was reading something else. It was like, there we go. Past Master Dan. There he says, I'm watching Aaron go ape poo over there. Love your stuff, Aaron. Timeless. See, okay, that's what I need to hear. A little encouragement.
The Art of Roy says in 94.95 he got 150 a page from Defiant Comics when he was new. Was that pencils and inks, Roy?
Yeah,
or just
sure.
pencils or just inks? What was that? Pastmaster is watching Aaron go ape poo over there. You're going ape poo. He loves your stuff. It's timeless.
Does he mean I'm throwing like an ape would throw his own poo? Is that what he's saying?
Jackie Daytona says, Aaron, I like your Kurt Russell. Wait. I'm not sure the gist of that one. He's waiting.
Well, she may be remarking that he's not done yet, but he will be.
Kurt he may change his mind if he likes it or not. I'm not sure. Oh, Art of Roy says pencils only. 150 in the mid 90s. That's was not a bad rate back then. Well, it all depends on your speed.
That's true.
If you can crank out a couple pages a day, then that's a really good living back then. I remember in the early 80s, that's probably the same convention where I bought that Jim Starlin sketch, that he said that he penciled, his page rate was $100 a page in the early 80s. But it took him 2 days to draw a page. So he wasn't making very much money.
Well, someone told me, and I knew this wasn't true, but they said Marvel at the time, but I was making, I don't know, I might have been getting paid $70 a page at Marvel, 75, somewhere in that neighborhood. It might not have been 85, but anyway, they told me their top rate was 135 a page. This was 1992. And I kept thinking, yeah, John Byrne and Frank Miller are not getting $135 a page.
Yeah.
No, they have special rates
right.
that they dole out to whoever they want, and then, tell you they can't afford to give you a $5 raise.
Right.
I mean, there's stuff that went on that Stan Lee's wife got $1 million just for being Stan Lee's wife from Marvel.
It's not a bad gig if you can get it.
Terrible gig. What you have to do to get that?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, but Marvel paid it though. Just that was in Stan's contract that his wife got paid.
Did she outlive Stan?
I don't know.
No.
JW is recommending Strange Death of Alex Raymond. Goes into very, very depth into inking styles and techniques. I'll have to look at that. I haven't seen that.
I've heard of that before. Maybe it was it JW you said brought it up?
Yeah.
He may have brought this up before because I've recently heard that and I still have not seen it. but it sounds intriguing. I mean, just the title, The Strange Death of Alex Raymond, sounds very interesting, doesn't it? All right, I'm going to McCready.
Okay. The Gourd Ox says, Aaron, I'm drawing a couple of your awesome characters right now. And I went toward tattooing instead of comics because it started at $100 an hour. 30 years. Won 194 awards.
Wow.
Tattooing, huh? I missed the boat.
Yeah. I was going to say, you certainly made the right choice. That's impressive.
Did you have clients lining up, or did you have one client a day at $100 an hour?
Tattoo takes a long time.
Yeah, that's true. But just like, freelancing, it does not matter what type of freelancing. It's all about the volume. That,
right.
Like Marvel and DC nowadays, you do one job and then you sit around and wait for something else. You don't have constant workflow.
That's what I remember thinking. I remember struggling to get the next job, and I'm sitting there going, I don't want to be 60 years old.
Like me.
And, trying to get a job that pays, a couple $100 a week.
Minimum wage,
that just wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
It was impossible.
Well, that's the harsh reality, right? And it's like, maybe it was a godsend that, Dan DiDio got let go, and then all the editors and everybody I knew at DC got let go. And then I was sort of like, wow, what do I do now? And kind of forced me to go this, independent direction. But it's like, otherwise, maybe I would have just stayed there until, I eventually would have aged out anyway, and they would have quit hiring me, which they pretty much did.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. And they just stopped throwing you work.
Right, and then what do you do?
Or stop returning your calls. That's what they would do.
Right,
that's how they communicate. No news is good news. Not in comics.
or they go out of business. I mean, that's what the reality they're facing right now. It's like.
But you start to think, well, if I don't do this now, when am I? And that's, do your own thing. I mean, so that at least, even if you don't get rich on it, at least you've done something that you owned and it's your own thing. And, not instead of just drawing Spider-Man for Marvel for your entire life and then being cast aside like, Herb Trimpe or somebody,
Oh, yeah, Dan, you bring up a big point. I don't think I'd want to be working steady in comics and then comics goes out of business, because then that's your legacy. But I was working for Marvel when they went out of business. No thanks. It was my fault.
Well, I think that's what Jim Lee's legacy is going to be. It's going to be like destroyed, Image, and then.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, but he's going to walk away with a nice.
Oh, he's doing great. He's going to make money, but I'm just saying, like the legacy will be watching the downfall of a massive company, but I do think that despite all this stuff that they're saying about the woke stuff and all that, I think honestly it was the spinner racks being gone. That's what did it. As soon as the kids didn't have access to these comics anymore.
Well, I think it had a lot to do with the staff at the companies.
I'll tell you what it was.
Oh, here it comes.
It's because of the movies. And these circumvented all of us who put in the years of dedication to buying this stuff. And it instantly made fans who go to the movies who now wear the T-shirts and all this stuff, and they say, hey, I'm a Spider-Man fan. Where we who bought decades worth of comics and spent hard every Wednesday on this crap.
You mean this quality entertainment?
Now the dynamic has changed. Now they are the majority, and those are considered the fans, and they're going to cater to them and never cater to us again, because we're on the lower rung now, and we're not considered the fans anymore so much. You know, we're a part of it, but such a small part. The larger audience are the movie people, the movie fans, and the video game fans, and the, you know, whatever else they have that's in the digital sphere, you know. So that's what happened. It has nothing to do with spinner racks, and because they exercised the notion of collecting, the collectors are us. They're our age and maybe just a little bit younger, but they're dying off. We're dinosaurs, you know. They don't even collect DVDs anymore. That's obsolete. And Blu-rays, that's obsolete. Everything is being streamed. So they're streamlining everything, and all of these things that we took and cherished, and how we became friends with one another and say, hey, you collect? Yeah, me too. Hey, check, blah, blah. Hey, we're instant. That's on. Everybody's behind their closed doors. It doesn't matter. They created a COVID situation before COVID came in our community. And they destroyed it, did it on purpose. Like Dan DiDio, Jim Lee, and these people who are running things, they have no balls or no back to say at the beginning of the movies to say, only way you're going to have this on is to comic shops, and you have to have in there saying support your local comic book shop. And it's not catering to one side, Marvel or DC, saying support your local comic book shop. That's all I'm asking, because these guys are the guys that are making us business. We should at least give something back, and they never did that. That's what it does.
Well, that's a cheerful way of looking at it.
You can tell when David is preaching his manifesto, because he stops inking. He's getting serious.
He's on a roll. Well, the kids aren't buying them though. The kids are not reading them.
No.
Would be, well, if they were told.
Remember, the demographic used to be, right, you try and get the kid from about 9 years old to 16, and then those guys they would leave comics and get involved in their cars or girls or whatever, but then you'd have the next generation of kids coming up to take their place. And that was your main audience, right? That 9 to 16 group. And I mean, Dan's right to a certain degree, because when the spinner racks died for whatever reason, then comic shops became comics became more of a specialty item, and where the older reader became more important than the younger reader. And then as a result of that, you got, it was fine when most of the readers were, in their late teens and early 20s and stuck with it. But now they're all our age. And, and there hasn't been a real influx of younger readers coming in to take up the mantle. So,
hey, young readers are still reading Harry Potter because they're being told to go read it.
Yeah.
So-called Marvel, DC, Image, by these major movie corporations and all this to go read it. Kids malleable, to saying, hey, kids, you need to check this out, Well,
no, it's a colossal missed opportunity, right? I mean, I made this point, I don't remember where it was, but again, on some live stream, I'm sure. But, the very first, comics, they had the Submariner comic in the movie theaters. It was a movie theater giveaway, which, 1938, 39, whenever it was, that they had a Submariner comic in, like on display, and you go to the movie, you got this Submariner comic. It was called Motion Pictures Funnies Weekly. Mm-hmm. And it was these things were distributed in movie houses. So when kids went to the matinee and whatever they saw, that
I've not
It
heard
should be
that.
that.
I've not heard that. I've always said that modern films should be doing that.
Absolutely.
At least have like flyers in theaters pointing out where the local comic book shops are, so the people come out of theaters.
If comic book movies are the major blockbusters that bring people to movies, and we have free comic book day, I forgot when it is, around the country in the limited comic book shops that we have now, why don't they just give away free comics at the movie theater?
Right. They could easily do that if they wanted.
Yep. Movie stands, point of sale, gotta have it.
Yep.
Yeah, if they can distribute 3D glasses.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, they could have very easily have, made that just an advertising point. It's like, it didn't have to be, a 30-page book or whatever. It could have just been like a smaller 16-page, just something that gets them hooked on, ooh, this is a really cool Avengers comic. I'm going to go check out more of this. And it's just a complete missed opportunity.
You kind of wonder, do they even have a marketing team at Marvel that kind of, their idea is to kind of break into new a group of salespeople that kind of break into new areas? I don't think so.
I doubt it.
Because that's what they need. They need an advertising staff. They need.
Yeah, my theory is that this wasn't by accident. That they don't really care about the sales of comics.
No,
you're 100%
now are being published just because they're the foundation of a lot of these licenses, and that's the only reason. And so the companies, especially the editors, know they're not going to make any money, so they're not pursuing creativity and excellence. So they just put anything out that they can.
Yep.
They can.
I can tell you
their political issues and whatever they want to do, and not worry about what the sales are.
Right.
I mean, I can't believe, like, for me, it's just the experience of, I entered the field at 87. The year before Dark Knight had come out, Watchmen had come out. I think Hellboy was in there somewhere pretty soon.
Got about 5 minutes, guys.
Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein was a couple years before that. I was thinking, oh, this is the way it is. This is, we're going to have this incredible stuff. Dave Stevens' Rocketeer was happening. And then imagine my disappointment when just nothing happened after that. It just turned into just a, there was that, rock star kind of time for the image people, but it just wasn't really good art. It wasn't anything creative or different,
Yep.
Well, anytime, I mean, that's the unfortunate thing. Anytime that a company, and Marvel and DC were smaller companies. That's who they were. They were comic book publishers. That was their business.
Yep.
But then when you sell out to a bigger corporation, and I get why they do that for, financial reasons or whatever, but then suddenly this thing we're making, we cleared 20 million this year, that we're doing really well. Now that's like, are you kidding me? That's a waste of my time. And, so you have to, they get lost in this thing where comics were always, even in their heyday, were small, maybe not during World War II, but they've always been sort of a small ticket item, right? But when you don't have a big corporation demanding billions of dollars every year, or they're going to, cut out the business, whatever it may be, it was just a different perspective, right? I mean, they were trying to make comics survive because that was the business. But now comics are just a piece of something much larger. And if they don't generate any income, well, off with their heads.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I don't think they realize that they're taken for granted. These kids are buying these Superman T-shirts, Spider-Man T-shirts, and all this stuff, and pajamas and stuff. If they keep this up, that may actually go away. To a certain extent, just if no one if there's a new generation, because the people buying these pajamas and stuff, people read the comics. But if they have never read a comic book, they're just like, why do I have this Batman pajama, for my kid. There's nothing there that's interesting anymore.
Aaron, are you watching the clock?
I'm cheating right now, Gary, since you brought it up.
All right, just want you to be aware.
Need a couple more minutes, so
Okay.
Just want to do his sunglasses and then, yeah, let's go. Are you done, David?
Nope.
Okay, well, we'll go a couple more minutes then. Until I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't not do McCready's sunglasses. I mean, come on. It's a good thing I didn't try and color this. Yikes.
Well, you got the rest of the week.
Yeah. You know what happened to me last night? I was laying out a page for Wraith of God. I was on I think it was page 32. And it dawned on me that what I had chosen to do in this one scene in this story didn't work as well as I thought it did. So I was up late last night rewriting like 3 pages so that it would work better.
Wait a minute. You were altering the story to fit the artwork?
No. I was laying the page out, and sometimes this happens when you're writing. You visualize it to be one thing and you think it works, and then when you actually start laying it out, you're like, this scene does not work.
Oh, I see. So the writing didn't work. And,
right.
And you saw that when you were
I started
doing the
breaking
artwork.
it down. Yeah. And so it wasn't major, but it was a passage of time thing, which can get really tricky.
Yeah.
if it's not done right. And you people like, well, that was contrived, or why did he wait this long to go there? And you're kind of like, and that just dawns on you when you're working on that page and you're like, I can't do this. I have to fix this. And so I was getting ready to go to bed. And I thought, well, I'll just lay this page out real quick, just get some idea of what I want to do with it. And I was reading it and it was laying the page out and I'm like, wow, this does not work like I thought it worked.
How many times have you guys done that when you're working with another writer?
Oh my God.
And there's no way. But you have to draw it anyway.
All the time. You're like, yeah. And I was like, I used to, sometimes I would go in and change it, if it wasn't too severe, I'd like add panels here or whatever. But then you get to a point where you're like, this whole project is crap. I'm just going to draw what the guy wrote and the editor approved, and I'm not going to worry about it.
Well, yeah, David reads the script and then just tosses it. He does what he wants to do anyway.
That happens quite a bit.
I've had really good luck, though. I've worked with a lot of good writers that I didn't really have that problem with, but it does show up occasionally, and you're like, but it's usually smaller versions of, they just didn't include enough information to make the scene work, so you add a panel or whatever, and that's not that big a deal. But
do you ever edit anything for moral reasons, like just not leave it in?
No,
it happened to me on Clive Barker.
Thank God I never got stuck with something that I had a problem with.
What happened with
I
me
was
was
really worried about that the last
Clive Barker's
10 years.
Clive
I
Barker's,
would never take a job doing a Clive Barker book, so I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I just was a scene. I just left it out. It's just like nobody even said anything. Nobody even said.
I had a couple things where it was just like in a panel or something that I wasn't comfortable with, so I just didn't draw it. And I'll have the writer go, "Why didn't you draw this doing?" And I was like, because I said that is out of my comfort zone, and they were kind of like, "Oh, okay," because it wasn't a huge deal that it changed the script or anything, but it was just like, little minute thing that, you know, bugged me or I didn't think was appropriate, I wouldn't draw it. That happened a couple times, but not a lot.
Girl, why didn't you draw those areolas on? Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I am done with McCready's glasses, so I'm going to say.
So you're finished, so the show can officially end now.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works. I try to be as fair as I can to myself.
Where's the sandwich?
Yeah, I'll have to put it in later this week.
Gosh, I
You
haven't
heard
used
it
this
here,
technique.
folks.
I haven't used this technique in a while. I'm kind of rusty. It's funny.
It's looking pretty cool.
Yeah, I want to get a close up here and see what you're doing, because I think that I've been drawing here and not really watching what you've been doing, so I'm really curious to see. All right. Okay, I'm done. David, are you willing to call it, or do you need a few more minutes?
Just show yours.
Huh?
We know the best for last.
All right, so we'll start with mine. We'll go to Dan. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, The Thing.
Cool.
Wow. That's
I haven't even been watching you guys.
Okay, let me try and focus.
wow.
That's really cool.
It's very cool, Aaron.
Very,
Thank
very, very, very cool.
So we got Kurt Russell there, McCready. Got our screaming dogs, our twisted faces, and all sorts of weird crap going on. I'll put a little bit more line work in this in the thing before I call it 100%. But for what we've been doing recently in the last few weeks, I mean, this is about as close to being done as I've gotten in a while. So I actually feel pretty good about myself.
We like you, Aaron. If you finish it or not, we like you.
Well, you know, people tune in. They want to see the finished product, man.
Trying for Fun and Profit says that's a T-shirt.
There you go. Creamy, baby. Yeah, so I'll probably do a little bit of touch-up work just on some line work and stuff later tonight before I actually post this online. But there you go. There's Mac in the thing. So there we go.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That is great. Yeah, very, very nice.
Hang on a second here.
You imagine doing that, you know, for a commission at a show? They would lose their minds.
I know, and then I'd lose mine because I didn't charge them enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
All righty. So Marcus Killigrew says, very nice, Lopez. Thank you. JW, any character with the thing in their name, Aaron is all over it.
Mm-hmm.
The winner
Especially
is always, wait a minute. The winner is always he who gets to colors to his first. So Dan won. Okay. There are no winners. This is not a competition unless I win. Great work, Lopez. Thank you.
It's I win till you lose.
All right, let's take a look at what Dan. Are you ready to show yours?
Sure. I'm actually going to hold this so you can see it.
Matt Grindle wants an auction now.
Okay, so here's the pencils.
Okay. Come down so we can see his face. That's awesome.
Wow. That is very cool. Yeah.
And got the, there we go. Now I want to see a close up on that face when you drop the colors on.
Will do. Hang on. So yeah, it's not. See,
he's got the sandwich. He did it.
The Big Trouble sandwich.
All right.
Wow.
All right, let's take a look at that close up. See, it's just your colors are so rich. I just love the way you do that.
And you're using color pencil.
Yep.
This looks like oil or acrylic.
Yeah, it does. It looks like paint. That's just the amazing thing, the way that looks. So you think that that's partially because the texture of the paper helps you get that look?
Yeah. Let me just do a quick. I'll show you what this stuff can do. Okay, so here's the color pencil, Prisma color pencil, right?
Right. Oh yeah. So it.
See how thick that is?
Yeah.
And okay, now watch. Here you get a little white here, and hang on a second. I'm trying to figure out this going backwards on me. And it blends, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's weird too. You can actually kind of cut into it if you kind of.
So it's like laying down a layer of wax.
Yeah, it's a lot like it's very waxy feel. So, yeah, it works great. But I'll tell you, still the this thing, I could do this on the computer, and
right?
It would look so pro, you know. Now if it's reduced down, you know, pretty small, like on some of the covers on Star-Lord, when they were reduced down, this stuff starts to look, a lot of that texture starts to blend together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Aaron, your buddy James is proclaiming that Dan wins.
Well, James is not my buddy. James
anymore.
Dan.
Yeah.
So he's a
so he's Dan's buddy? Is that what you're saying?
That's
right.
what I'm saying.
Actually,
he reps Dan, so he sells Dan's artwork. So of course he's going to push Dan. No, that looks great. I love that.
I'll tell you what, though, I will sell this. So
yeah, Dan is all. Hey,
contact
we're all
me.
Capitalists here.
That's
great. But see, you could do that colored pencil, and as sketch art, and with a rougher kind of feel to it, and that'd be kind of an expectation people would just have anyway, right? I mean, I get when you're talking about a finished cover or something, and you want it to be more smooth and painterly and everything. But if you're just doing like something like this, as and selling it as, hey, this is my Snake Plissken color sketch, then people accept that kind of rougher look, and it's actually nice. It feels a little looser, so I like it.
Yeah,
a lot.
It depends what you like, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought that turned out great.
Yeah, I agree.
So you can see how that's pretty quick, and I'm out of practice with this technique, but I could do this stuff pretty fast.
I would love to see you finish that.
Yeah,
I will. It's not that hard. So I mean,
yeah,
really, the face is the most complicated part, you know.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to show you another thing that's freaking cool about this thing. Hang on a sec. This technique, why I liked it when I first kind of discovered it. Eraser, right?
Okay.
It gets a little gummy at first, but you can erase it.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
And you erase it completely and cleanly.
Wow.
And that's because of the vellum.
Yep.
And you don't know what that vellum's called.
No, I think I saw it online once, and I kind of knew that I think this is it. I forgot what the name of it was, but
so you introduce us to this.
See that? Like I could erase this. I could erase this right now. This whole guy.
You introduce us to this miracle paper, and you don't know what it's called.
So no one can get it and try your technique at home.
I don't even know if they make it, really. Tell you
well, Dan, here's your homework. Find out what this paper's called and post it so that people will know.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, Rick Harrison's already bid $20.
$20.
And he's not even finished yet. How much? What do you think heuld pay if it was actually finished?
So just cut out the head.
We'll send it to him for $20.
Yeah.
Now that's tremendous, Dan. Thank you so much. That's really good. Okay, let's see what Dave did. Okay, so we got Jack screaming just before the rocks hit his head.
Yeah.
We all know the scene. Oh, you know what? Dude, when you inked that sort of became Kurt Russell more than it was in the pencils. No, it did, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, the likeness is more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fallon Lowlife says, if it's wax paper, just buy a roll at the supermarket. No, it's not exactly wax paper. Oh.
So I just didn't finish the gun.
Well, you got to finish the gun, you know.
I know, right?
So See, what we do is David will show up next week with the gun finished, so we can show at the beginning of the show what we didn't get finished at by the end.
And who knows? I might add color to it.
I was going to ask you if you're going to paint this.
I might.
Okay, that's what we call cheating. Because then he comes up next week and goes, "Look how I kicked Aaron's butt, man, with this colored paint." And you're like, "Yeah, but you worked on it all week, man." Okay. Well, if he paints his, that means I got to put color on mine to combat him. So
yeah,
I got a feeling my son is going to see this thing piece and go, "I want that." So I'll see. He is a. We both love the thing, but no one in our no one will watch it with us, so we have to like make sure no one else is around and we can't watch it. Shelly's not a big fan.
So I think Aaron and Dan are like a tie for first.
Well, I there's no ties on this show. I'm definitely first, but Dan's like a close second. We could give it to him. That's awfully generous of you, David, by the way.
What?
That's awfully generous of you, dude. Kind of.
Well, it's only a contest between you two because if I actually entered, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
I win when I make money.
That's right. That's right. When I sell the original, that's when I win.
It's like that's winning to me. I don't care about winning anything. Just
David? Do you have your Flash Gordon piece handy?
Do I? I think so.
Yeah. Will you show that? Because technically, you weren't finished with that last week, and so oh crap! I should show my Doc Savage piece too, but I don't want to show it after you show your Flash Gordon. Look at that! Look at that!
It's cool, man.
That's the finished piece from last week. Tremendous.
I love it. It's just I haven't seen gouache. It's gouache.
It's watercolor.
Watercolor. Okay. Well, really, gouache and watercolor are the same thing. Just one's got the graphic in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pink face is great. It just looks like a cool poster I'm not sure if you call it retro, but it's got a definite interesting style to it.
Yeah, dude, I'd make it. At the very least, I'd make a print out of that.
Yeah, it's got an Alex Raymond thing going.
It's just really, really cool. Like Dan said, it's got that really kind of throwback retro feel to it. I just think it's tremendous. Yeah, that's the only piece I've ever conceded a loss to David.
No, it isn't. There's some other videos where you conceded.
Okay, I was just being nice. This time I really meant it.
Oh, okay. Now show your fourth place.
There was only two of us last week, so I was second place. So.
I'm just saying. And
I admitted it. I admitted it freely.
Is Gary going to show up blank piece of paper?
Gary brought the tude, man. That's what he needs to do. That's all he needs to do.
No, I can't do that because then I would win.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Everybody's a winner in their own mind on this show, and that's all that matters.
Gary's all, you don't want this smoke.
You could say he didn't. Gary did not make any mistakes at all.
No, no whiteout. That's my
I made
goal.
a bunch of mistakes, but he made none.
That's my goal. No whiteout.
All right, quickly, this is not great, so I'm not trying to, but I'm going to, in full disclosure, I got to show what I did last week.
Oh, that is cool.
With watercolor. What I'd like to do is this blue I used up here, this dark, I want to kind of carry this back here to get more separation between Doc Savage and this werewolf man in the background. I'd like to make this red a little bit more intense, but when I saw David was finishing his, I about slipped my wrists, but then I decided, no, I'm not going to throw this out. I'm going to go ahead and finish it. And I spent the evening, I don't know, a couple hours in the evening trying to get it to a point where at least it was presentable. But there's still more I'd like to do with it.
Can you turn it towards the camera so I can see it not distorted?
Is it true that you used
Cool.
a picture of my abs for that, Doc Savage?
That is absolutely not true.
Can't prove it.
No, I said, if David had abs, what would they look like? And that was kind of what I went with.
Inspiration.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't really reality. It was just sort of a fictional representation of what your abs might look like.
Yeah.
Underneath.
Anyway. So, it's got some work to do on it, but,
That's what my abs look like underneath my fat.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You peel away the fat and we all have abs like that, right? Anyway.
Marcus is asking about a Sophia Loren story. We're gonna have to wait on that, Marcus. Sorry, but I definitely want to hear it.
All right, guys. Here, let me
I didn't
bring
even know
up
who was in
my...
the chat. I was in the zone all show. I was focused.
Yeah, Dan was he was bringing the noise. So that's the kind of guest spot we want. We want someone walking in here and bringing some noise, which Dan Lawless did.
Well, I didn't say
So
anything.
that would-
What are you talking about?
No, I meant art-wise.
Oh,
You were focused on bringing the art, is what I meant. Not.
Are you criticizing his personality?
Well, that's a discussion for another time.
We're running out of
room
time.
for improvement.
We could insult each other and get away with it.
That's right.
I
would
brought the
encourage
GI Joe. I
everybody-
didn't say anything after that.
Yeah.
I would encourage everybody to hit the like and subscribe button if you would, please, if you haven't already. Helps the channel grow so we can bring you more fun, exciting, and educational content just like this. I would like to remind everybody that we have me and Sequential Treasures do a show once a month on the last Saturday of every month called Comic Art Convo. We're doing our favorite mini-series or limited series this week, Saturday, 4 o'clock Pacific time. So please be there to join us if you really just want to get geeky and nerdy.
James is going to sell some of Dan's artwork on that stream.
That's right. Well, he's always pushing something. So anyway, guys, thank you all for joining us. Oh, and let me remind everybody, please, there is Wraith of God Blood Hunters is campaign in the book I'm currently working on. The link to that campaign is in the description of this video, so please visit that. And David Williams's and Kevin Grievous's Bass
Hey,
Reed
somebody just said the
West of
paper.
Town.
Somebody just pointed out the paper art of Roy Cover. Canson Vidalon is the paper I used.
Canson's the brand, and Vidalion, I guess, would be how you pronounce it. There you have it. The Art of Roy Cover. Thank you, Roy. Appreciate that.
Yes.
I didn't have to do any work. It's great.
That's right. Now you're off the hook. But anyway, I want to thank you, Dan, for joining us today, being our special guest. It was great fun. We appreciate it very much.
Anytime,
and
man.
Thank you for coming in and adding your stories and your keen eye to the show and the conversation. That was a great addition as well. So everybody join us next week. Maybe Bigfoot will return. Maybe he won't. You never know. But we'll be drawing something for sure. The poll will be up Monday on Twitter. Whatever options we decide on, you'll get those and you'll get to vote which one you'd like to see us do. But enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you guys next time. Peace out, brothers and sisters.